welcome to the latest installment in Alice in Egypt. Today's episode is called In the Frame. You are in the palace that is owned by Lady Jane Carmichael, in the middle of the desert, about an hour's drive from Cairo. And you have been holidaying there, kind of like a holiday home away from your holiday home, which is the beautiful Continental. And Lady Jane is up the Nile, again on one of her trips where she's working as a guide for tourists. And she's basically handed the keys to the castle, literally, in this case, to you and Dottie. And you've been spending a couple of really lovely days in this beautiful place. And you have also been, making most of the garden. You have read the letter from Matthew. You have been, and you were considerably less irate than one might have expected. You did keep control.
Yes, I still haven't finished the letter to Matthew because I'm still unsure what the answer will be. So Alice is still mulling over. She probably destroyed quite a bit of paper by now, just by starting to write. Just like squishing it and throwing it out and starting over again.
And it's a good thing that Dottie isn't curious, or otherwise she would have started to unfold them and kind of start reading. She has many faults, but she is actually not a nosy person when it comes to people's private lives. And one evening you were having dinner and you saw something out of the corner of your eye. And you looked a little more closely, maybe more closely than in hindsight you should have looked, or you might have wanted to look, because you saw that one of the paintings by Georges Lagrange, and Lady Jane owns around a dozen of them, different cityscapes of different places in Egypt, seems to have moved, but not the painting itself, but something in the painting. And Dottie and you have looked quite closely at the painting. And Dottie said, that looks like Linda. Linda, who vanished in the desert several days previously.
Exactly.
And it looks like, hey, she's living in the picture now. So you started walking from picture to picture in the house. And you saw her walking to the edge of the frame and then leave the picture, being gone, because then the picture ends, but then appearing in another one and another one and another one. So basically hunted her, as it were, through the mansion until you came to the picture that is a streetscape of not Luxor, that's the one that isn't Luxor, that's Cairo. And she opens the door to the world famous opium den, the Blue Lotus, walks in and shuts the door behind her. And that's where we're at.
Alice would for sure look around other pictures if she appears again.
So the two of you split up probably, because this way you can cover more paintings. And how much time do you want to spend to observe?
Maybe half an hour or so, because that went quite quick. So if she's not showing up within the next half an hour, she's definitely in that building in the painting.
Dottie sees nothing.
Okay. For me, that as well, it's spot hidden, I suspect. A success.
If she moves, then you don't see it. But then again, she might have moved to a different painting that you weren't looking at, because they're really spread out across the house. And so it's basically now, I would say probably around 10 o'clock at night. So what do you want to do?
Plan for tomorrow, Dottie. We need to find out more about the painter.
Okay.
Because it was only his pictures. And that is weird, to say the least. And I am afraid it might be an idea to visit the Blue Lotus. Maybe not tomorrow, but the day after.
Okay. Okay, good.
Good,
Dottie,
good. That is not a good place to be.
the question is, will you take Dottie?
That would be Dottie's decision if she wants to go or not.
Okay, good. So, I mean, Lagrange is kind of a locally famous person because he was this conservator, he was this archaeologist, so he's quite well known. You also know where he lived. He lived in Luxor. You saw the house. You walked past it. I don't know if you went in and looked at the exhibition, but he's definitely a known figure. And lots of people have his paintings. And I mean, even Dottie bought one. So you're quite familiar with his art, as it were. So the two of you go to bed. What's your POW?
100? No.
Okay. Yeah, I
No,
rolled
it's
a 90.
50.
I rolled
55.
a 94. That
Oh,
is higher
wow.
than your POW. That's okay. So you go to sleep.
Yes. Although
You
probably
dream.
takes a bit of time, and I don't like dreaming.
You you're in New York. In your house, and in front of you you see, before you can see anything, you feel a palm make contact with your face, and you see Dottie's mother standing in front of you,
Okay.
and she says, "How could you?" and walks away and walks round you because you're standing in the hallway, and leaves the house. What do you do?
Just staring after her leaving.
You hear steps behind you.
I will turn around.
It's Sergeant Updike. Well, Miss Baker, you failed. And he walks past you and leaves the house.
Can't you try to grab him? Like his
can.
arm.
He makes this motion as if to kind of like tear himself free of you. He's not his normal kind of like really gentleman-like elderly man, kind of like, but he's really rough with you. He really pulls back his arm quite roughly.
She would just call after him. In what did I fail? I don't know what you're talking about.
He closes the door behind him.
She will open the door again.
You see your sidewalk in front of your house, but he's gone.
She will close the door and she will just call upwards. Dottie?
You hear steps. Teresa McFarlane walks down the stairs, cradling Maeve, saying, "You didn't care, did you?" And she leaves the house.
Teresa is not as strong, so Alice will for sure try to stand between the door and Teresa, not to let her out.
Teresa is basically holding Maeve like a weapon, so like this, and she looks at you and she says, I want to leave.
I don't know what you're talking about, and the cat is not leaving the house.
What do you mean you don't know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what you are
How can you be
talking
so
about.
callous? Well, then go into the salon. Look.
Give me the cat.
She looks at the cat, and the cat is kind of struggling, and then she gives the cat to you, and the cat is actually cradling against you.
She will just stroke Maeve, and she will just shake her head like, is everyone crazy? What is happening? But she will walk towards the salon.
You open the door?
Yep.
You open the door. The drapes are drawn, so the curtains are closed. It's in semi-darkness, and there's an open coffin.
What would Alice do? I think she would not look into the coffin. She would turn around on her heels and would walk into the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Are you still holding the cat?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She would set up a kettle of hot water
Mm-hmm.
for some tea and would just mutter to herself, "What is this madness?" And she would probably try to throw out some thoughts towards a certain deity.
We've got 3 to choose from. Which one?
The first one she met, the youngest
first
one.
Mm-hmm.
Such weird dreams are not really nice. Could you please let me wake up? And she would sit at the kitchen table with a cup of tea then in front of her and the cat in her arm, and she will not move away from there. Mm-hmm. And she will just hope that this ends somehow.
Okay. Make a constitution roll.
So yes, that's a point where you want to fail, maybe. Which I am doing with a 69.
Okay. So you keep sitting there, you drink the tea. Maeve is slowly falling asleep. First they go into the purring stage, and then she actually falls asleep, curled up on your lap. You drink your tea.
Mm-hmm.
And time passes. Even though this is a dream, you have the feeling that a lot of time is passing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wake up in your bed in the palace.
Mm-hmm. Alice probably feels like she wants to throw up because she highly suspects what was in the coffin based on the reaction of the other people. She would get out of bed, just throw some water into her face just to really wake up.
It's still in the middle of the night. It's still dark.
Yeah, she would do anyhow. She would throw over her morning coat and she would tiptoe over to Dottie's room.
Mm-hmm.
And she would not knock. She would just creepily open slowly the door and just peek inside. A, to see if Dottie is there, and B, to listen in if she's breathing.
Then make a stealth check for me.
Let's see how stealth will go. That is a success. On point success.
Okay. You can see Dottie lying. You assume it's Dottie. Who else could it be? There is somebody lying in the bed, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
if you want to know if she's breathing, you have to come closer.
Then she will tiptoe closer because she wants to either see or hear breathing, depending on what it is.
It's unbelievable. This is the 3rd time I've rolled for Dottie with these 2 dice, and it's always 77.
It's good that she can't hear me, but that is weird.
She couldn't see anything spot hidden. She couldn't hear you the first time, 77. Listen, and now it's again 77. This is statistically speaking highly unusual. She doesn't hear you. Well, I mean, but she's breathing.
But she's breathing.
Yes.
Then Alice would just tiptoe out of the room, carefully closing the door again. And I'm quite sure she would grab a book, whatever kind of book, and she would sit down. I don't know if there's a salon or somewhere living room like somewhere in the library would be. She would sit in a library.
You guys have a living room in front of the 2 doors that lead to the 2 bedrooms, but you can also go to the cream-colored part of the house where the library is.
Yeah, that would be what she does. So she would go down there. And she would just have a snoop around between the books, not really looking for anything particular. It would be more like just trying herself to distract herself, because there's definitely no way of going back to sleep. And I highly doubt there are books on the painter. I don't think it would be part of the library.
Library use roll?
Then let's see. Then she would look for that, although I think it's highly unlikely. It is a normal success.
You don't find anything quickly
Yeah.
about this guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then she would just go through books, snoop around, but not really focusing on anything too much.
Okay.
And she will just wait for the morning to come.
Make a constitution roll. At disadvantage.
I don't need disadvantage. It's a 98. Well, I can roll 100. No. It's a 94 or 98. You can choose.
Okay. So 98 it is. And this is getting kind of like customary at this stage.
Face
You
planting
feel-
on the table.
You feel someone brushing the hair from your forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear Dottie's voice saying, Alice, what is wrong with you? Why don't you go to sleep in your bed and stay in your bed? And she's kneeling next to you, holding your hand.
She will peek open one eye. I tried, failed, and decided sleep is not my thing anymore.
Did you dream again?
Yes. Your
Was it-
mom has a nice slap in her.
Well, I can only agree with you, but I would wonder how you could possibly know.
Well, in my dream, she was quite strong, and the sergeant is also surprisingly strong.
Did he slap you as well? What were you
No.
dreaming?
I'm not sure you want to know what I was dreaming.
Try me.
Well, first thing was your mom slapping me in the face.
My mother would never slap you.
With the words, "How could you?" And she stormed out of the house. Then the sergeant came down, said something in a similar way, stormed out of the house. Then Teresa wanted to storm past me with the cat, which I did not allow. And she was quite astonished that I had no idea what was going on, because I had no idea what was going on. And she said in a salon, and I only saw a coffin there and decided I am not going further. And waited until I woke up with Maeve on my lap.
There was a coffin in our salon.
Yeah, and with the reaction of all the people, I'm 100% sure you were in there, but honestly, I did not dare to see that. Because I hope to never see that.
Well, I mean, that's simply not going to happen.
But after that, honestly, sleeping was not really an option, so I decided to read and look a little bit if there's anything by accident on the painter. I did not find anything.
I'm sorry you had to dream this.
Well, it's not your fault. Either my brain is going insane, or someone sent me the dreams to scare me off.
You're not going insane, I'm pretty sure. And
Well, I'm probably already past the point that a lot of people would call me insane, but...
well, I'm here. And she gets up. Large as life and twice as ugly. So hey, everything's fine.
I think Alice would just get up, would give her a hug.
She hugs you back.
Let's get some breakfast. I need coffee. A lot of coffee.
Come on, why don't you freshen up? And I'll let them know that we need plenty of coffee.
Alice will go in her room, freshen up, will get in proper clothing, and then will join Dottie for breakfast.
The two of you have breakfast. how does this did this leave a lingering impression?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Alice is quite in thoughts. She's not really presence.
So you assume
Present. Oh boy, my English.
you assume that Dottie would notice?
Yes. It's quite Alice is not trying to hide it, and Dottie knows Alice well enough. I'm quite sure in Alice's mind she didn't even need to look into the coffin. Her mind is just spinning on what she would see there anyhow, and I think that's the image. And I think the most shocking was the combination with Dottie's mom. I think that would be the two scenes, like the slap and then just visualizing what is in the coffin.
So you have a Dottie isn't a great talker. So when you're not being present, as it were, in this case, she will actually not try and make conversation because she also doesn't see the point really. So you have breakfast. It's good breakfast. It's excellent mocha. It's the normal fare that you have, but she has an excellent pantry. The cook is super. So you have a really good breakfast, and then the servants take away the plates, and then Dottie gets up and she walks over to you and she places her hand on your shoulder and she says, if you want to talk, you can talk about this. I will always be there. You don't have to do it now, but just so that you know.
I don't know what to talk about. That I just need to get it out of my mind. Let's focus on more important things. How do we get information on the painter?
She smiles at you and she says, I know, it's always about processing it.
Well, processing not so much, then storing it far, far, far away in my mind in a very dusty old cupboard.
How about you just forget it?
That would be lovely. I honestly don't think that I can ever forget that.
She's standing next to you and she bends down and she kisses you on the top of your head and says, so let's get to work. Let's find out about this painter.
Yes. Should we give it another try in the library here, or should we ask for a driver to drive us into town?
We can do both. I mean, we could check here first and then go into town.
Let's do that. Let's try again if we find something in the library.
So you go first and I will just talk to the driver. Let's call him Cyrus. No, let's not call him Cyrus because that's somebody else and he's evil. Let's call him Simon.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to Simon and just tell him that we may need his services just so that he can plan his day as well. And because the two of you would never try and inconvenience somebody if you can avoid it. So she knows that you would always inform people that they might be required. So she goes off towards the house where the servants and the staff live. And you go ahead into the library and you can make a library use roll. And she's going to make one as well.
I rolled a 93. I see nothing. I'm too tired. And my library use is high, but not that.
This is a joke. I just rolled on her luck previously. It was a 33. Now I roll on her library use roll and it's a 33 as well.
What? Your dice are cursed.
They are cursed indeed. Well, anyway, the library use roll is a success. But she also doesn't find anything. So
if the driver is fine to go into the city, that would be probably the option to do.
Yeah, he's happy to take you. The question is, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the opium den or do you want to go to... That's the question.
I think the initial idea is definitely to find something about, before going to the opium den, learning about the painter would be more important. I'm just not sure if you would find anything in a library. Probably not, because he's not that famous, is he?
Make an idea roll, please.
Okay. And museum, I'm not sure because he's, I think, not. Well, he's popular, but I'm not sure.
He's not museum material. Yeah, you discussed it with.
Oh, idea, just barely. I was like an
Okay.
81, but yeah, I had 85. So idea, at least a success.
Definitely, information would be available in guidebooks on Luxor, because he was French, but he worked for the English Egyptian society. He was very important. You first learned about him from this little guide leaflet
Yeah.
on Luxor. So you believe that if you got the Luxor Baedeker or something, they would have something, because for the English he's kind of like a little bit of he's one of our own. Mm-hmm. So you believe that if you were to look at this kind of travel guide literature, you would find something about him. And there you can get that in tourist informations in Cairo.
Yeah, then that would be our first stop. To look for something more detailed on Luxor that also has something about the people and the past and something like that.
And you also think that maybe the British School of Egyptology, where he was basically the curator, might have information on him, because they're also the ones that preserved his house where he lived and turned it into a museum.
Then that would be our second stop. First go with the easy access things, and then finding a place to sit down and read through it in peace and quiet together, and then moving on to the British School of Egyptology and see if someone is willing to talk to us.
So you think about this, and probably the easiest way is to be dropped off at the hotel, because from there you have easy access to everything that's in the city center. And then also you can get to the school of to the British School of Egyptology from there.
And we could arrange with the drivers. He's fine that he picks us up, I don't know, in the evening around 8 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
At the hotel again. Then we are free to roam, and he can go back, do something else, and come then back.
Yeah. Okay, so you do this. You arrive pretty much at around, I want to say 11, because you didn't have breakfast really late, because you know you were Dottie basically found you at around, I want to say 7:30 or something. She's an early bird anyway, and so you arrive. He drops you off. You basically go to the tourist information, and they have all kinds of guidebooks. They have all kinds of, and there are also, and what you also find is actually a book of prints of his. So basically, even a book about Le Grange and his work, and that also contains like biographical notes about him. So you could get that. That's a little bit on the expensive side, because it's actually got full color prints of his
don't
work.
care.
Yeah, but it's actually quite a nice book. So you know.
Well, there are also nice paintings, so it's kind of worth it.
Yeah.
It's at least maybe a nice thing to take home, or not. Maybe we'll burn it, depending on what we find out.
It's actually quite it's bigger than A4. It's your average like role playing game book.
Yeah.
And so what you read is that he was born in 1877. And he died on the 21st of November, 1929, in a house fire. In a, well, it was kind of like a storage area that he was getting ready to store finds from a dig. So there was a fire, it broke out, and the building collapsed. His body was never found, but he was declared dead a year later because he never resurfaced. So, you know, but the place burned pretty much to the ground because they were storing turpentine there, which they used to clean some of the dig finds. And of course that went up in flames like you know, quite easily. And so they believe that, and it burned really hot, so they say that he might have actually burnt to a cinder. They never found his body.
Alice would probably leave her finger under exactly the sentence that they never found his body. Would just look at Dottie. Maybe he's in his own paintings?
you think one can just walk into them if you're a painter? Because, I mean,
I
she's a
don't know.
painter.
Whatever he did do, the paintings, it seems like someone can get in there and walk through them. I don't know if it's a similar thing as the weird mirror we entered.
To be quite honest, that was quite shocking. I don't really need to go there again. Just
Me
saying.
neither. Yeah, I'm with you.
Or if we do, then we have to have a rope with us and we need to tie each other off so that we don't lose each other.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Alice would look a bit closer also on information on how he's painting, what techniques, so does he use only oil or is he more versatile in using different things? She would also try to get her head a little bit around how he is doing art.
So he was also an Egyptologist, so he would also spend a lot of time creating drawings, like in black and white pencil. Some of them are, there are only some specimens in the book. And they, you've seen those before, they are like architects' paintings, you know, where you also have those lines that basically indicate the vanishing point and everything. Yep. So he did those of for example. So what he would do is he would go to a dig, and then kind of based on the fundamental on the foundations of the building, kind of envisage what it would have looked like. And then he draws them. And then there's kind of like what I would like to call kind of like sketches for the fun of it, where he would go and sketch a palace or a temple, just, you know, to maybe get into drawing.
Yeah.
He also obviously worked on the hieroglyphs. You see this here, that it actually says that he translated stuff, and that he also drew the hieroglyphs. So he actually practiced writing.
Yep.
But it also says that in the guidebook that you have, it says that in Luxor, in his living quarters, in his house, basically, a lot of his art is shown and displayed, but also stuff that he was working on. So, for example, before he died, he was working on a translation of a text, which was kind of like a poem or a hymn, a religious hymn dedicated to Tutu, the god of dreams and sleep.
Oh boy.
And you can now make an idea roll.
Success?
Tutu was also the god whose statue Linda was drawing.
Yep.
And she told you that this is quite a rare god, and there are only very, very, very few depictions of him, and there are maybe 2 little figurines that have been found. So he's a rare god. He's also not one of the main pantheon.
I think that would be another point where Alice would just stop, because she's definitely someone who uses the finger to go along the pages to read. And she would again look at Dottie. That is the second time Tutu appears, even though they are a really rare deity.
Yeah.
Is by any chance the poem hasn't been translated, and is it even in the book?
He was in the process of translating it, but it's not in the book.
So that would be worth asking in the school of it, if someone translated it to the end, because usually someone else can take over. He's not the only one who can translate.
Yeah. You know that Lady Jane can read hieroglyphs.
Well, we don't want Lady Jane to read it. We want to stay with us, please.
And then she read, poof, she's gone. What?
Yeah, or she fell asleep and woke up in a painting or whatever. However, this works because it has something to do with dreaming, as it seems. Although a lot of people say that dream world is just a parallel world, so whatever that is. Alice will also go through the paintings that we've seen Linda walk through. So she will probably rip up a piece of paper that she has and do like little bookmarks with numbers. So the first painting where she saw her, and then reading a little bit about the painting itself, just to see if she has an idea why this was the order of paintings she went through.
So basically, when you do this, you do see that this would have been someone trying to get from the School of Egyptology to the Blue Lotus in the most direct way possible.
Okay.
Because you also didn't go through you didn't see her in every single of the 12
painting.
pictures.
No,
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, so it's almost like she would have gone from her place of work to presumably the place where she was scoring her opium.
I guess, Dottie, it's time for us to visit the School of Egyptology and see what they can tell us, and if they know if anyone finished a translation of the poem. And we should find out much more about Tutu.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you make your way to the School of Egyptology. You arrive. And it's a functional building.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a porter there who basically lets people in, and so madam.
Good day by now, obviously, probably.
Yeah.
We would be curious if there's anyone at the school we could talk about the one of your famous members, Mr. Legrange.
Oh,
and the things he was working on, not his paintings. Although they're pretty, don't get me wrong.
He looks at you and he
says, she will give a big smile.
I suppose you could talk to anyone here, because everyone who's been here for more than 3 years knows him. At the moment, however, there is only let me see. Dr. Frampton is at the dig, so he's not here. James Dawson. He's one of the students of Dr. Frampton. He's already finished, but he's currently writing his doctoral thesis. He's in today. I saw him this morning.
It would be lovely to meet Mr. Dawson, because we know Mr. Frampton quite well.
Oh, you do? Oh, what a coincidence.
We visited him on a dig site.
Oh, you did? Oh,
yes.
Good. Well, excellent. Well, if you... unfortunately, I can't leave my place here, but I can tell you where to go. So you just
be lovely.
Go straight up the stairs to the second floor. Don't mind the mummy. It's not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You just basically then follow that corridor until the very end, and then it's the last door on the left.
Perfect. We will find out. Thank you so much.
So you make your way upstairs?
Yes.
And so downstairs, what you see is there are a lot of display cases where stuff is being displayed. It's light, there is lights on, it's airy, it's like a huge hall. Then you go up to the second floor, and there it looks very different. So that's kind of like, probably nobody ever comes here. Maybe that's where they ship off their students. Then they say once you finish your doctoral thesis, you can come down again, but not before. It's dingy. It's dark. There is a mummy in a sarcophagus standing there by the stairwell. There are
Alice
several.
will make a stop. Will greet the mummy, say good day, and move on.
Good. And the mummy. Let's see. 77.
Answers. Dottie will have to hold Alice.
37, you're lucky, it doesn't answer.
It's very good.
And then there are kind of like doors on both sides. And at the very last one, you see that somebody actually drew kind of like a little bit of a comic strip. And somebody is, there are two people, two men in like pithy hats and those kind of like, short trousers and that kind of thing, looking into a sarcophagus. And basically one of them going, okay, well, so now we've got the sarcophagus open. Can you read this? And the other guy goes, yeah, everybody who reads this is either going to marry rich or is cursed. Take your pick. And it's kind of like drawn by hand by someone, so probably students' jokes. And do you knock?
Yes, I will knock at the door.
You hear a come.
Alice will slowly open the door. Just, Mr. Dawson?
I had never expected to see her in the flesh.
What? Is he looking at me or at Dottie?
He's actually looking at Dottie.
Yeah, I was.
And he says, there is somebody who looks exactly like you. And her name translates as the beautiful one has arrived. And he walks past you and stretches out his hand and takes Dottie's and kisses it and leads her past you into the room, completely ignoring you. How does that make you feel? And Dottie's kind of like, she's looking at you mortified.
Excuse me, sir. Have you smoked something you shouldn't have?
Oh, no. My name's James Dawson.
Yes, you are the one we were told to talk to. I'm not sure we are right here.
Well, my specialty is Nefertari, and here she's standing in the flesh. Nefertiti, sorry. And here she's standing in the flesh.
Alice looks at Dottie and would probably openly just like, should we look for someone else, dear?
He's like, oh, excuse me, it's, and he basically blushes. He looks like a boy now. And he says, I kind of get a little bit lonely up here. You're the first person I've seen besides the porter in 1.5 months. And you see that he's actually got a bed in there. There's a little bit of a kind of like, one of those camping beds.
Uh-huh.
I need to finish this, so I don't get out much. Excuse me.
I thought someone working with Dr. Frampton would be different. I think Alice would have a close look at him because she's still thinking he took drugs.
Okay, then.
So how does he look, especially the eyes, and how does he look? She would try to have a kick of that. It's a question, would it be spot hidden or would it more be like medicine?
Give me a spot hidden.
No. That's
okay,
a big fail.
Okay, so you what you do notice is he looks a little bit thin. Mm-hmm. Like maybe somebody who hasn't been eating really well. But you do know that students sometimes are undernourished because they don't have money and,
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically starts. He notices that actually his shirt is basically not tucked into his trousers, so he tucks it in, and he's kind of like then. Won't you sit down? Would you like some?
We are fine, thank you. But yeah, sitting down. Alice would grab a chair. Would carefully sit down.
And then he gets up again because there are only 2 chairs, and then he takes his and he offers it to Dottie, and he waits for her to sit down, and he adjusts the chair, and then he basically realizes he has nowhere to sit. Then he tries to sit on his desk, which means he's a lot taller than you. He realizes that's no good, so then he basically goes as far away as possible to the window and stands against the window, and his body language is completely closed. He's so shy. He is painfully shy. He is blushing.
Sir, just sit. Is there a way to get another chair from a neighboring office, maybe?
Yes.
We have time to wait. If
Peter
you have
isn't
time
in.
to spare.
Peter isn't in.
I
One
know.
moment.
I know. He's not in. It would be weird if he would be. Grab the chair.
He runs out. He comes back. You hear a door open. You hear a noise like something must have fallen over. You hear a ow.
Alice would have gotten up and would hold open the door at least, and he can get through without any issues.
He can't really look at you. He's kind of like, thank you. And he's got this chair. It's a rickety chair, and he puts it kind of like into the corner, and he sits down, and he then puts one leg over the other. Then he realizes that's not okay. He puts both feet on the ground again, and he's like, then he folds his hands, and he's like, so what can I do for you?
I think we got off the wrong foot. Could you please just relax a little? We are not here to do anything evil.
Make a
psychology
roll.
Persuasion.
Make a psychology roll first.
Okay. These dice will get burnt. The lucky ones are not very lucky.
Okay.
They have never rolled below 80 so far.
Okay.
So nope.
Okay.
I'm still intimidating him.
Yeah, but you can also now do a spot hidden for me. Maybe use different dice.
Yeah, I threw them out. See, that's much better. That's a 26. That's a hard success.
Okay, yeah, he is... you don't know about his state of mind, but you do notice that whenever his eyes happen to brush across the figure of Dottie, he blushes terribly.
Alice will ignore that part. Dottie is woman enough to tell him off if it's too much. It's a question if she notices.
She's got a hard success on psychology. Do you look at her?
Yeah, I would in between look at her as well, because I want to make sure she's not uncomfortable with this.
She sees that you're looking at her, and she just does this.
A little smile goes back to Alice, from Alice.
And then Dottie actually puts one leg over the other. And her skirt is pushed up slightly. Mm-hmm. And she's just basically looking at him, smiling at him encouragingly.
We would have a few questions if you could give us a little bit of your time.
Of course. I mean, I was basically, yes, what is it that you would like to know?
We would like to learn more about Mr. Lagrange, and not his painting part, because that you can read up anywhere, but we would be
Georges,
curious.
yes. Well, it was a tragedy. He died. He was preparing a storehouse where we were going to put things from, incidentally, Dr. Frampton's dig. We were going to put it all in there and then clean it off, because he had extracted quite a number of, well, he didn't get Nefertiti, that was the Germans, but we did have quite a lot of stone work that we wanted to clean off, and some of this was quite large, so we needed, they were going to put it on a barge And they ended up putting it on a barge in spite of everything. And they were going to ship it to Cairo, and we were going to put it in there, clean it off, and then start cataloging it. The problem was it burnt down while he was in it, and he died.
Read that. So it's from Tel El Mana.
Yes,
there.
Yeah.
Because we've been at the dig site. That's where we met Dr. Frampton.
Oh, really? I mean, that's what I specialize in. I mean, my specialty is Nefertiti. And I have been to Berlin to look at the bust. And he has said the word bust, so he blushes and basically...
Do you by any chance know if... We read that Mr. Lagrange was working on translating a poem about Tutu.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with Tel El Amarna. He got that off a temple in Luxor, I'm afraid, so...
But we would be curious, was it translated later on by someone else?
Yes. I think Ludwig Altmüller. He's from the German school. But it was, I mean, it's been published, so it's... Why do you ask?
We are looking about information and learning more about Tutu, and we learned a little bit about them in the dig site because they found things about Tutu and Tel El Mana.
Now that is highly unusual because Tutu is unfortunately not one of the best documented gods and also not very common. So you said they found him, and how come I didn't know that? Is that a new thing?
Yes. When was the last time you saw or heard from Dr. Frampton?
I wasn't at the reception. I know that he was here for a couple of days for the reception that you went to. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't there. I honestly didn't have the time, and I just met him briefly in the corridor, and he was just basically coming and going because he's at the dig site all the time because, you know, the season has just started. And I was in Berlin during the summer months investigating the German find. So I haven't really... we said hello, and he said, how is it going? And I told him that I'd just come back from Berlin and was still going through my notes, and he said that I should just compile something for the December symposium, which is happening next month. And he looks at it, and you see basically that he's got written down lots of, like there's papers everywhere, and he says, I'm still trying to order my thoughts, and then he pulls out a paper, and it's a drawing, a black and white pencil drawing of the bust of Nefertiti from Berlin. Mm-hmm. And he says, I did that myself.
Does it really look like Dottie?
No. Nefertiti, the bust itself is a really beautiful one, but it doesn't look like Dottie at all. Mm-hmm. But if he thinks that she's as beautiful as this lady, then Dottie is a really beautiful woman.
Wanted to check if it's literally looking like, because honestly we have gone through weirder things, but Alice is a little bit relieved about that. So
also the bust is definitely showing a lady that is quite a bit older than Dottie. Dottie is 26, 27, so Nefertiti in that bust is, I would say, a woman of 40. Mm-hmm. So, like, more of a woman rather than... Because Dottie still looks very young for her age, so...
Alice is a little bit unsure how much she wants to say. Well, Dr. Frampton left the dig site together with us.
He left the dig?
Well, his health was not the best, so I think he's taking care of getting fit again.
So where is he now?
I honestly don't know. We parted ways.
You do know that he was sent to St. Anne's Hospice and Hospital?
Okay, then...
Do you tell him?
No, I think Alice will stick with... I think he
You don't
just
know.
wanted to take a little bit time off to just collect himself. Probably then going back to the Dick, if I suspect him well enough by now.
Was there an accident?
Kind of. Not with him.
And now his health has deteriorated. That's terrible.
Well, out there the conditions are not the best, and the older you get, the harder everything is on you, probably. You did not hear a thing what happened in Tel Mana, I suspect.
No, but then again, I mean, if Peter Frampton hasn't been back to the academy, who would know?
I thought he might have dropped an info that he's like calling in sick for a little bit.
He would definitely not call in sick with me. I'm his student. So he would be gone for months on end. I mean, my work in Tel El Amarna finished last season. Now I'm writing up my findings. Then we decided that I would go to Berlin to talk to the Germans and look at their part of the find. And then collate all of the information about Nefertiti and then basically put it into place and write up my part of it. So that's what I'm doing now.
Well, that is, as I said, I'm quite sure with a little bit of time off, he will be fine back on his feet and out there quicker than we know.
Is there a way to get a message to him? I mean, at least to say get well soon. I mean, I'm shocked. I've known him for 7 years.
Maybe someone at the reception or someone has the information. I'm not sure how this is working. But as I said, he is okay-ish. It's not like he's on his deathbed or so.
Well, I sure hope not. I mean,
he was just a bit weak, and they decided
we cannot afford to lose him. He is one of the most important Egyptologists alive.
He's a brilliant man and a nice man as well. As I said, don't worry too much. With a little bit of rest, I'm quite sure he will be back on his feet.
All right. Well, then
the question would be, do you know where we could get a translation of that poem? And also, who would be maybe a bit deeper into Tutu? Because there's not much to read up on.
Well, I would say that Lagrange was probably somebody who knew quite a lot about him because he had found that temple with the inscriptions to Tutu, the hymns. It wasn't a temple to Tutu. I want to make that absolutely clear. We've never found any temple dedicated to this god. We believe he's a household god. Well, he's not my specialty, but well, I mean, I can give you the translation. It's been published. Just wait a minute.
Yes, thank you.
And then he goes to his kind of like, bookshelf, and he's like, where is it? Where is it?
Alice will look while he's busy, just at Dottie just raising an eyebrow.
Dottie smiles enigmatically. And he's like, so where is that book? I knew I should have at some point started to not just put them there topsy-turvy, but kind of like either use alphabet and subject matter or just the alphabet. Aumüller didn't write a book. It's part of a book. Now, where would he have published it? Then he basically starts rummaging, and then he hands you a book.
Alice will look at the book and will open it to see what is inside. And
well, it's a book, and it is called Zusammenschriften ausgewählter Tempelinschriften von Ludwig Altmüller. So you probably can recognize German when you see it. Yeah, so it's in German.
The whole book is in German then as well? Is there an English translation by any chance? Because honestly, my German is non-existent except hello. Und danke.
I'm afraid not. But do you want me to translate it for you?
Yes, if you would, if you could.
Sure. And he takes the book and he basically stretches out his hand and says, "May I?"
She will give him the book. Oh God, now my
Okay.
brain. I heard German. My brain is struggling
Yeah.
to move back to German.
And he basically starts leafing through it and he says, here we have it. Die Hymne des Tutu. And he sits down, he takes a pen and he takes a piece of paper and he starts writing. And you notice that he seems to be very fluent. It's actually going really quickly. And then he says, this is taking him 20 minutes. And then every so often, once or twice he consults a dictionary. And then he says, well, this is funny. Actually, I've never really read it in its entirety because Tutu isn't my area of expertise. But this is interesting because there I want to see the original. Just 1 second, don't leave. And he walks out. And he comes back half an hour later with a book that contains plates. So basically they have taken picture photographs of some form of Egyptian writing hieroglyphs. And he keeps looking and he says, "Leave it to the Germans. How good is your Shakespeare?"
Quite well.
There is a line here, and that is almost incredible. But in German, as well as in hieroglyphs, the best way of translating it is to sleep, perchance to dream. And you know this to be a line from Hamlet.
Okay.
It's interesting that it should occur here because it is, that is funny that it would traverse several thousands of years and then resurface in, because Shakespeare wouldn't have known this because this hymn was not discovered until essentially 10 years ago. So that's funny. But here is your translation, and he hands you a piece of paper.
Well, thank you. And Shakespeare was a master of words, so creative minds, maybe? Because someone was creative enough to write this on a wall.
Well, I can't do it justice like Ludwig did, because Ludwig actually turned it into a poem. I'm not a poet. He did a really good job, though. But this is the translation, basically, that you know, not just the gist, but pretty much word for word what they say. But his translation is really beautiful.
Alice would hold the piece of paper that Dottie can read it as well, and she would read what he wrote down.
Well, essentially, basically, it's a hymn. It's almost like the Psalms from the Bible. So basically, it's a praise to the God of sleep and dreams, and it is the wish of the person who wrote this, that everyone who is entombed in, and then comes a place name, and whose service would be held in this temple, may their because they're dead, obviously, may their families' sleep be guarded by Tutu, and may they be given the chance to sleep, perhaps to dream, in spite of the loss that they've suffered. So it's to do with somebody dying and then the family being bereaved and that kind of thing.
Is there anything else we could read up on Tutu?
Well, like I said, I'm sorry to repeat myself. I don't mean to sound strange, but we really don't know much about him. He is, or she. That's where it starts. We don't even know if it's a female or a male god. It's a sphinx, so it could be both, or neither, or either.
Did Mr. Lagrange, since he found the hymn, and he seems to have found a little bit about, or Dr. Frampton, or if you said it's new, they probably did not document so much so far, but did Mr. Lagrange by any chance document anything on the finding, or anything he found out about? Because it seems like the information about Tutu are like lucky finds that are spread all over Egypt.
That's an interesting observation, and I think you're actually hitting the nail on the head there. He, she, they are an elusive god.
The statue that was found in Tel El Amarna.
They found a statue of Tutu in Tel El Amarna?
Yes.
But that puts everything into a completely different light, because Tel El Amarna was dedicated to Aton, so to find other gods.
Well, the temple where the poem was found, you also said, was not to Tutu, it was to someone else.
Yes, but you have to remember, Achet Aton, that city that was built and all of the other gods were ousted. The whole religious system was changed by Akhenaten, so all other gods were outlawed. So to find a different god and even an image of such a god in this holiest of... That would be like bringing a statue of, I don't know, Buddha into the Vatican and praying to it. Oh my God, Peter must be so... he must be killing himself that he can't work, because that is a find. The Germans will have such big eyes like saucers when we go public with that.
I'm just thinking of the outer game. I'm just thinking, I know Alice did some drawings. The question is, was it from that statue? It was from other stuff, wasn't it, that was found?
When did she do drawings?
When we were at Telemana, I think the first or second day, she joined Linda and did drawings as well. Together with Linda, because she wanted to learn and see a little bit.
What's your luck?
57.
Okay, then yes, you are lucky, because I rolled a 53. Yes, you did draw, because that was the one that she also showed you that one at the reception. Mm-hmm. And you saw the thing, as it were, in the flesh when you were in Tel El Amarna. And I'm pretty sure you would have drawn this because you know it's so rare.
Yeah. I am sorry if my neighbors outside are coming through the mic.
Oh, that was you. I thought it was somewhere here.
No, it was outside. They're partying outside. So if it's getting louder, because probably the alcohol is rising as well, I'll just close the window. Well, I have a few sketches of it, but not with me.
Oh, his face falls. And then Dottie is like, well, we could get it to you.
Well, they're in the hotel, because Alice would have left them in the hotel. She wouldn't have dragged them towards the hotel is not that far. We could drop them before we leave later today.
And Alice and Dottie looks at and she says, Alice, I'll drop them off before we leave.
Okay. If that would not be an inconvenience for you, Mr. Dawson.
Well, he obviously is totally like, at this stage you're not sure if it's more Tutu or the fact that Dottie is going to drop off the drawings, but
the combination is
the combination is the thing. Yes,
he's in heaven at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. This is archaeologist's heaven, and then you have Dottie to boot. So hey, what could possibly go wrong? He's found the beautiful one who has arrived.
So the other things found were burned together with Mr.
No, it was empty. It was. Okay. It wasn't. He was preparing the house, the building.
Are there more, like, I don't know, figures or anything found that can be looked at a museum or something like that on Tutu.
From Tel El Amarna.
No, from around Egypt, wherever it
Of
was
course,
found.
I mean, yeah, you have been to the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities.
Yeah, but
you
but
saw.
she wouldn't have really paid attention on Tutu. She would have maybe scrapped it, just briefly
Oh,
seen
that's,
it, because she was more focusing on the main gods.
Let's see. No. Like the Tutu isn't really. I mean, there are two
Exactly.
statues. Yeah, so no. You've seen 50% of the find.
Yeah. I was just curious still. It's a bit sad that there's not more information about them.
Well, you see, there are. I mean, the pantheon of ancient Egypt has in excess of 400 gods and goddesses whose names are mentioned.
They were quite creative back in the days.
Well, I mean, in Hinduism, you have a pantheon of thousands of gods and goddesses, plus
Yeah,
all
that's
of the demons. So, I would say that maybe we can compare it to Hinduism a little bit. There is quite a lot of localized worship. But that wouldn't necessarily make it into the sacred annals of, the high priests and the highest castes. I mean, compare it a little bit to the localized Catholic belief in local saints. Especially in Italy, there are almost every village has a patron saint. They will never be recorded anywhere else outside that village.
Yeah, that's
so. With Tutu, at least we know a little bit about him because he's got a hymn dedicated, or they have a hymn dedicated to them. And now you're telling me that a second statue has been found. So that is quite significant.
Well, you helped us a lot. Thank you so much. Also for
He
the
beams at you.
translation.
And then he looks at Dottie, and Dottie beams back. So that kind of gives him a little bit of a boost.
Then we would let you get back to work, and as Dottie said, she would drop then later on. It's a sketch, don't be too harsh on my drawings. But then you have like a sneak peek before Dr. Frampton is publicly announcing what they found.
The Germans will be so jealous.
And Alice would just get up and would just probably stretch out a hand, like for a handshake. Well, thank you, Mr. Dawson.
He shakes your hand, and then he takes Dottie's hand and he kisses it, and he bows very deeply.
There's a smug smile on Alice's face, but she will just then have a nice rest of the day.
And then he looks at Dottie and he says, "So I'll see you later." And Dottie says, "Yeah."
Alice will just hook herself in with Dottie and
the two of you
leave the office and the building, to be honest. And when we're outside of the whole building, past the reception, she would just look to Dottie. Are you sure you want to go back here?
Why? What could possibly happen? I mean, do you think he's going to draw me? I mean, tell me up front. Do you think he's going to draw me into a painting or into a mirror? Did he give you evil vibes?
No, weirdo vibes a little bit, because yes, you are pretty, but that was hell of a reaction in the beginning. You for sure found someone who will make the world turn around for you.
Yes, I noticed. I can tell you I have no interest.
Is it weird that Dr. Frampton did not leave any information that he's...
Well, he is in hospital.
Here.
They took him straight to hospital. I don't know if he's going to be able to pass on any messages. Because we saw him and he was very weak.
Yeah, I know. Should we have a peek at the hospital? The hospital was here in Cairo.
Yeah.
They didn't bring him. Should we make a stop at the hospital? I would just be curious to see how he's doing.
Sure.
Okay, then we would see if we can walk and find out. We could out at the reception, just walking back, just if they know where the hospital is,
Yeah.
and if it's not walkway, find a driver.
You actually can't walk there because it's in the garden district where all of the official houses are, because this is one of the main English hospitals. So, but you can take a taxi.
Yeah, we would do that.
While you're there, as Dottie suggests, getting the sketch so that little James has something to look at later.
Yep.
And then you go to the hospital. You identify yourselves. I mean, you are English speaking, so they love you immediately. They notice that there's class and money, so they let you in, no questions asked. And you are brought into yes, it's a hospital, but it's also kind of like a hotel. Except the hospice part, which is then of course very dismal. But and there's a huge park, and they bring you in, and Frampton is sitting in a wheelchair, in the garden, and he's actually sleeping as you approach. And there's an orderly, and he says, the doctor is doing quite well, but he seems to have lost out on a lot of sleep in his life. He spends a lot of time sleeping, but when he is awake, he is absolutely fine. It's just that his body seems to be catching up.
Well, the word workaholic probably was not even invented back then, but that would be like, well, when someone is so passionate about work, sleep gets like not so important for a lot of people.
But it's okay, you can wake him up. Just don't try and startle him.
Alice has no idea how to wake him up without startling, so she will just awkwardly stand there and just like, well, we can just wait until he wakes up.
Dottie looks at you and rolls her eyes, and she says, "This is how you do it." So she basically
startling people.
She bends down, she kneels down next to him, and she just brushes lightly across his forehead, pushing back the hair from the forehead, and he wakes up. And he says, "Dr. Frampton." She says, "Dr. Frampton, it's me. Remember me?" And he smiles across his face, and he says, "Of course I do. I didn't expect to see you again." And she's holding his hand, and then she looks at you, and he realizes you're there as well, because you're
Alice
standing.
is standing
She's kneeling.
there very awkwardly. I don't think Alice doesn't feel very comfortable around like hospital sick people. I think that's just like, we just wanted to check in how you're doing.
I'm told I sleep a lot, and I think this proves it. I must have fallen asleep. And he looks down, he says, "Oh, look, my book fell down." And Dottie picks it up and hands it to him, and he says, I feel good. I just need a lot of sleep. But they tell me that physically I'm in excellent condition. I've actually gained some weight, and you notice that he's filled out a little. So he was very gaunt.
Yeah, and it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Let me just close the window, because now the music is getting louder outside. And the pop techno music is not fitting to this vibe.
That is true.
That is better. Less distracting. Also, I have no idea what goes through the mic and what not. Well, we just had the pleasure, that's the word I'm looking for, the pleasure to meet Mr. Dawson.
Oh, James. Why did you... I mean, he's a lovely fellow, but why did you visit him?
Well, we wanted to find out a little bit about Tutu. And the poem that was found, if there was a translation somewhere, and he was nice enough for us to translate it from German to English.
Oh, the hymn, yes. It was translated by Ludwig Aumüller, a very fine Egyptologist, and unbelievably skilled in the translation of hieroglyphs. I mean, I don't speak German myself. James does. He told me that some of the hymns that Aumüller translated, he even translated in verse. I'm very
this
to get across the vibe of. Also, so why are you interested in Tutu? I mean, yes, you saw the statue, but why Tutu? Because he's not, or she is not one of the more well-known gods. Isis.
Maybe that's why it's interesting. Also, we are looking a bit more into Mr. Lagrange. We stumbled over him via his paintings, as many tourists
Of course,
do.
he was the first to find the hymn and copy it and started to translate it before he so tragically died in that fire. Of course, yeah. Sorry.
We were
Sometimes
just curious. We read about Lagrange, and Tutu showed up again, and we were like, we've seen something about that before. And we were just curious, and Mr. Dawson was nice enough to indulge a little bit of time for us to answer some questions.
yeah, James is most obliging.
He is indeed, and he seems to be very busy, and also full-time working on his projects, as it seems.
Well, he's got the symposium coming up. He needs to finish his paper. He wants to get that PhD. He had better work hard.
He is busy on that, and it looks like he was working hard on it. But he was nice enough to take a little bit of time off. Good, but it's nice to see that you're feeling better.
Yeah, I hope to be able to go back to the dig. I mean, I'm trying to be sensible, so I'm going to wait until after the symposium and then go back for Christmas and the New Year, because we're going to spend that time in the desert. We're not going to celebrate much, but the doctors have said, take it easy, and the symposium is on the 5th of December, and then if I leave on the 6th, then they said that this was going to be fine.
We, maybe by accident rather, mentioned to him that we've seen a figure of Tutu at the dig site. I hope that was not a breach of confidence, because clearly what was found at the dig site has not been published by you.
He couldn't do anything with it because he's not, to be quite honest, Tutu isn't his area of specialty anyway. He's more interested in Akhenaten and his wife, Nefertiti.
Nefertiti, yeah, we learned that quickly, that this is his passion.
He even went to Berlin to look at the bust, and he talked to the Germans, and he investigated their findings, and he's been spending quite a lot of time with them. I mean, his German is perfect now, and they're exchanging letters on a daily basis, I would say. So he brings his expertise to the table and they bring theirs, and I think it's a fruitful exchange. That's how it should be. We're all scientists after all.
Yes, and finding about the past is interesting to learn for everyone, I guess.
Yeah, and forget about the most recent past.
Yes. That for sure.
I think for James, the fact that he didn't serve in the First World War makes it a lot easier. I sometimes still... old men.
Well, I can assure you also younger people can have some happenings that haunt them.
I sometimes still find it hard to see past that. I'm working on it. I mean, Aumüller served as well. He's my age. I sometimes wonder if if he was standing across from me in the trenches.
Well, let's say we are quite blessed that both of you made it out there alive and enlighten all of us now with the findings you share with the world, to tell us more about the past here and everything that happened here.
And apparently I made it out of the trenches twice, and the second time you were there to help. I'm indebted to you, Miss Baker.
Well, it was... We did not do that much. We are just happy that we got you out and you're better now.
So what is it that I can do for you?
We honestly just wanted to check in, since at the moment we are traveling around and we just came back to Cairo for a day, but we wanted to check in if you are doing okay, or if we can do anything for you. Do you need anything?
Well, I'm honored. I and you see that he is finding it difficult to find words, and
Do you need any, I don't know, other things to read? Or to write? Or to...
well, I mean, if it's not too much of an inconvenience, if you could get me a little notebook and a pen,
That's
because
easy
I didn't
enough to
bring
do.
any, and I mean they've got like, you know, just pieces of paper. Because I mean, there are many things that happened at the dig that I have now the time to actually just write down, to kind of like do a retroactive diary, if you know what I mean, you know, and I just
That
don't have
is
enough
easy
to write
enough.
on.
That is easy enough. We need to get out anyhow and grab a few things. We can just grab a nice notebook and a pen and ink, and then we will drop it here. No problem.
That would be most. Of course, I'm going to pay, and
You don't have to worry about that, sir.
I accept the gift in the spirit in which it is given.
Well, you gave us the possibility to visit a dig site.
You're
That
always
was
welcome.
an experience, ignoring the not so nice part, but the rest was a quite pleasant experience.
I'm glad. The only thing that I can tell you is nobody found Linda. I had
We
a letter.
thought so, to be honest.
Me too. And if I know, but I would like to stress it one more time. If possible, we would like to not talk about her condition.
We didn't mention anything to anyone. That is James's.
We want to
Decision.
honor her memory. To
The
honor
only
the
thing-
artist that she was and the artist that she would have been if she had been given more time.
That would be the only thing I would talk about. The art that I've seen her do, how lovely it is. That's something I quite happily talk about, and that will be everything that we
I
will
really
say
appreciate it.
about her. Alice would just lay carefully her hand on her shoulder. Then we will do a little bit of shopping for ourselves, and we will grab you a nice notebook and drop it a bit later today.
And then Dottie gets up, she kisses him lightly on the cheek, and then the two of you walk away.
Yep.
And you go
And it's
you
a total lie. Alice has nothing to buy, but she wanted to make it easier that they're not specially for him going out.
If it was a lie, he didn't notice, and then the two of you kind of like go and get a notebook. That's easily done.
Yeah,
You
a
get
nice
ink.
notebook,
Yeah.
quality a little bit, a nice pen with some ink, and we would then just drop it at his place. I'm not sure if we would bring it even to him or if we just hand it.
You can post it.
Yeah, it would be like going to the hospital but leaving it at a reception for them
Yeah,
to
that's
bring
how
it on.
you would usually give it to kind of like an errand boy, and they would just drop it
exactly,
off. Yeah,
and I would
so
drop it
yeah.
off something like that.
So then there's still the opium den.
We still have a little bit of time, and the opium
Yeah.
den in the afternoon might be less horrific dangerous than during nighttime.
So
Should we at least go there, Dottie, and have a look from outside? I'm not sure we should go inside, but at least I would be curious to see it from outside if it really looks like in a painting.
you go to the place. It looks exactly like in the painting. It is a narrow house built in the Cairo style, so basically those whitewashed, but it's got a blue door. And it's completely inconspicuous. But it's known what this is, so it's not a secret, but it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, if you just walked past and hadn't read the guidebook, you wouldn't know what this is.
I think Alice would stand on like the opposite side of the street and would like wait a little and see what kind of people are going in and out. If any people go in and out.
You have to wait a little longer than maybe you thought. So after about half an hour, someone comes to the door. It's a man. He's white. Quite well dressed. Knocks on the door. The door opens, and you see that this man that there's somebody standing inside that you can't see because they're in the shadows. And the man standing in front of the door seems to be handing this person a card or something, like a visiting card, like a calling card. And then apparently the person in the shadow steps aside and the man walks in and the door closes.
Well, it looks like not everyone can get in there. Should we have a little walk? I think Alice would like to circle, and see if there's like a back way to the building.
There is a back way to the building. That's where they take out the trash.
Okay. The question is the door to the back building open or closed?
It
so
is closed.
Standing open or closed?
No, it's not standing open. It's closed.
We will walk on then, and Alice will circle around, and we are getting at the front again. I'm still tempted to try to get in and ask if someone knows Linda, although I'm not sure if that would be healthy for me.
I also don't know if they would tell you. Do you think that they talk about their clients so openly?
No, they will not. Well, if you pay enough money, maybe.
But what if you pose as a client?
And just have a snoop around? I can try.
What are you wearing?
It would be comfy traveling clothing. It wouldn't be too fancy. But still fancy for a lot of people probably. But it's not like a dress and being extremely like... It's more practical at the moment. Linen that is good against the heat. But you could see the quality in the clothing for sure.
Do you have money on you?
Yes.
Okay. So, whatever you want to do, you can do.
She for sure would have grabbed some money when we were at the hotel grabbing the drawing, because she was always playing with the idea if she want to go inside or not. And clearly if you want to go inside, you need to have money.
So,
the question is, do we want to split up and you go to hand out the drawing to Mr. Dawson? Because I highly doubt they will.
If you really think that I will let you into the world's most famous, infamous opium den on your own, you really have lost your marbles.
I am honestly not sure that we will get in when it's both of us together.
I'm not going to let you in there again, alone. Forget it.
You
what if you don't come out?
Much too pretty to go in there. They will never believe that you are an opium addict.
You don't look like one either, and as far as pretty goes, you have many years on me. I am not pretty. You are pretty.
The thing is that I know how to play an addict. From experience.
All right.
You can wait out here. That is still an option.
I will let you go in.
I will be out within an hour. I promise.
If you're not, I'm going to go to the police.
Yes, do that.
And I'm going to raise hell until I have you back.
Deal. Alice will take a deep breath. We'll give Dottie a kiss on the cheek. We'll probably squeeze her hand, and then she will just walk over. And I think Dottie will see that Alice changes a little bit her posture and demeanor, and Alice is going back to times where she was not addicted to opium, but other drugs, a little bit lighter drugs, but she is trying. She's starting to fiddle around to just her energy is more like nervous, a little bit shaky, and she will knock at the door.
You knock at the door. The door opens, and in front of you, you see a man. He's definitely Arabic Egyptian. He's wearing a white kaftan, and he's got a mustache, otherwise clean shaven. And he looks at you and he says, "Madam, are you sure this is the right door?" And he's got a perfect English accent.
Well, a friend of me told me that here might be a good place for me to enjoy a little something. I can pay, and she would pull out money.
Okay, so like really you're pulling out a wad of cash.
Yeah, a little bit of cash. She would make sure to have like the back to the street, that it's not too open in the street, but he clearly can see that there's cash in her hand.
He looks at the cash in your hand, and then he takes both hands and he covers this and he says, "Talk about your friend. What's his name?"
Oh God, which name will she take? Well, I only know his first name, but James will not help you much, will it?
Oh, there are many Jameses. James is such a common name.
Sadly so. I can describe how he looks.
He smiles at you expectantly.
She will describe a total average British guy with reddish blonde hair, quite pale, probably a little bit of sunburn, slim, rather sleek, around her size, maybe a little bit bigger, but a total average description of a typical British guy. She will just do the shot and see if she's lucky.
So now we're gonna roll on this one.
It's the question if rolling, would it be persuasion? Would it be charming?
It's almost fast talk because you're lying through your teeth. It would be different if you had said Linda. Because you know Linda was here.
Honestly, I did not think of that. That would have been a brilliant thing to do, but I can try fast talk.
Okay, try fast talk.
I have a horrible stat in that, weirdly.
What did you roll?
A 94.
Oh god, that's almost a botch. Well, milady, maybe if James were to accompany you, we could talk. Do you keep fiddling?
She's definitely fiddling. Well, I can see if he... I'm not sure if he's in Cairo at the moment. I've met him, like, yesterday.
So where did you meet him if he's not in Cairo when you saw him yesterday?
I met him at the Continental, down at the bar. That no way. As I said, I can pay.
I'm taking a lot at face value here.
I will not be of any trouble.
We do pride ourselves on our hospitality in this country. I will take a risk. And he steps aside and he lets you in.
She will give a careful smile, like a little bit. She is unsure. She doesn't even have to play unsure. Well, thank you. And she will step inside.
He closes the door, and what you see is, first of all, you smell opium. And it is completely dark, and there's artificial lighting. And It's not as bad. So the floor isn't velvet, but definitely they did something to the walls. So the walls are basically, there's velvet, like almost like tapestries on the walls. And he leads you in through that, and you see that there are doors on either side, and he takes you to a room that is very small. And
when we walked there, Alice would try to curiously see if there, by any chance, is a painting of Mr. Lagrange on the wall.
oh, on the wall there is nothing.
Okay.
He basically leads you to a very small room that has exactly one item of furniture in it, and that is a chaise longue.
Yeah.
It's as cliche as it gets. And then he goes outside and he comes back with a very long pipe, and he lights it and he hands it to you, and he watches you.
First of all, just for the surrounding, the place is clean, I suspect.
Spotless.
Spot on.
You hear nothing. So basically, even when you walk, it's very soft. There is carpets, and you hear nothing. There is no noise.
Should I before she will take the pipe? She's just. Should I pay up front before?
Wait until after to see if it's worth your money. And he waits, and he basically folds his arms in front of his chest, and he's watching you.
Alice will draw, but she will not inhale completely. She will try to draw, leave it in, just hold her breath, and then let it out.
Okay.
And she will just sit on probably relax a little, and just look at him. Well, feels like the real thing. I would have been surprised if not. James would not lie.
What do you know about opium? What does Alice know about opium?
The thing is, Alice knows probably much more about opium than I do, because I have no freaking clue about that. I know it was hell on earth, and if you start it, it's horrible to get off. I'm quite sure Alice knew quite or read about it a lot, because she was dipping into drugs for sure, but opium was the one thing she was careful enough to not stick her toe into that, because she heard how quick you go down the rabbit hole.
So the thing is, this is actually quite strong, so you are feeling an effect.
She will give him a smile and just
you feel
lean back on the chaise longue.
Yeah, and you feel very light. And that is actually quite a nice feeling. The problem is you are falling asleep and you can't stop it, because you are now in a drug-induced sleep. Opium makes you sleep.
Yeah, it's a question if you can fight it in any way.
You can try a con roll, but it's disadvantage, and it has to be at least at least a hard success.
I think what she would do would dig her fingernails into her palm, really, in the way, because pain usually is a good way to keep your senses together, at least a little. At least that would be the way for her to try. Also, she would look at him, because she is not trusting enough to just sit there. She'd probably even look at him like, and now you're just sitting there and taking everything I have, right?
He's standing.
Yeah, or standing. She will look at him like, you will take now everything before I fall asleep, won't you?
What did you roll?
An 8.
Okay.
You managed 8.
You managed to not fall asleep.
That's a critical success.
Do you want to fake falling asleep?
She would probably blink a little and look at him, because she asked him a question, and I'm not sure if he would answer.
How do you like it?
It's good.
This one is on the house. And he leaves.
I think before he leaves, Alice would play the thing of leaning back and closing eyes. But she would clearly listen. Because I suspect he's closing the door when he's leaving.
He leaves and he closes the door behind him.
She would carefully peek.
You're on your own. It's like this ambient, very soft lighting around you, so it's not dark. You can see, but it's lovely on the eyes because, of course, your pupils are now completely dilated.
Yeah. So she will wait like 1 to 3 seconds just to make sure that he's not peeking back inside. And she will... The floor, is it like...
Carpet.
Carpet. Gosh darn it.
Do you want to lift the carpet? Because it's carpets like I have. You can lift them up. It's not...
Yeah, the thing is she has the pipe now and she actually wants to turn off the pipe and kind of wants to turn... She would probably carefully lift, in the corner of the room, lift the carpet and see what is below, if it's like stone or something like that.
Yeah, stone floor. Flagstone.
Now my Google search will be interesting because I will have to look up more about opium. But
on the company computer, no less.
If it's in a pipe, I would suspect it's at least not tobacco, but in a way. So it's a question if she would be able to like hit the pipe on the floor to get everything out and basically use her foot to stomp it out because she doesn't want to cause a fire, clearly.
So,
but she wants to...
No. Actually, how this works is it's more like resin.
Okay.
That has been dried, and then it's not like flaky tobacco at all. It's resin, and then well, it's probably not resin from a biological perspective, but that's what it feels like, and I'm afraid... Why do I know this actually? And you can actually pull it apart. It's more like chewing gum.
Okay.
And then you just light it on fire.
Then she will try, because fire needs oxygen. So she will put the pipe upside down on the floor and hold with a thumb the other end. And she will just wait and hope that it turns itself off.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not really burning. It's more smoldering. So basically getting rid of the actual flame is no problem at all. You can extinguish it.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
So that would be the main thing, and then she would probably scrape a little bit out and hide it under the carpet.
And the rest stays in the pipe?
A little bit stays in the pipe, but she would make sure that it's definitely less than before, because it would look weird.
I get you. So
the
that
pipe
it looks
like
like
new,
you have...
like
I
there
get
was
you.
something out. I think then she would put the pipe, because if it's out, as I said, she doesn't want to cause a fire hazard in there. She would put the pipe on the chaiselong, and she would put her ear to the door and
make a listen roll.
Because she wants to snoop around. That is a success.
You hear nothing.
She will very carefully try to open the door. She would also look at her watch, but it shouldn't too much time shouldn't have passed.
25 minutes have passed since you said goodbye to Dottie.
So she has a little bit more before Dottie goes crazy. She would peek outside.
Yeah.
Left and right if she can see anyone.
You see no one? You know where the door is, though. The door is to your right. So the front door, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Alice would take off her shoes because she would be less noisy barefoot. And she would tiptoe to the left because she would suspect if she goes left, she might find the back door.
You follow the corridor?
Because she's sure the guy is standing in the front door, and if she's back like in 50 minutes later, he would be like, what the heck?
Yeah, because you would have fallen asleep and you would
Yeah.
normally spend several hours in that trance-like fugue state. You follow the corridor and then it takes a left.
Mm-hmm.
Do you round the corner?
She would wait, listen. If she
Make a-
hears anything...
Make a listen roll.
I don't like these dice. They're all against me. Oh, that is a nice one. That is a critical success.
There is somebody coming from around the corner. What do you do?
What is the next door? Going backwards, is there any kind of door? Did I pass doors on the way?
You pass several doors, yeah.
She would open the next door she could find and just...
So you open the nearest door.
Slip in and hope that there's someone sleeping on a chaiselong. She would be quiet anyhow.
There is. There is a woman lying there.
Okay.
And
She will close the door behind her, just turn around, and her stealth was at least a success.
the woman is definitely she's been smoking opium, and you can see that she's still holding on to the pipe, but it's now she's gone completely limp, and she opens her eyes and she sees you, and she doesn't see you at the same time. So she's basically away with the fairies.
Alice will just smile and she will put her ear against the door to listen in.
Do you hear somebody walk past very softly?
Okay. She will wait a little bit and then she will peek out the door.
There's no one.
She would step outside again and would again try to go left. But she would listen again to see if there's anyone else coming.
No.
Then she would move on to the left and see if she can find the back exit.
You can. After about 10 more doors, 5 on either side, you get to what looks like the back door.
On the way, all the walls, everything is no picture or painting of...
No.
I think Alice would be crazy enough to, in between, probably some doors she would pass, she would put her ear against and just listen in if it's
Make
quiet.
a listen roll.
And she would peek in. If it's quiet, she would like carefully open the door and just peek in. 39 is a success.
How many doors?
3 doors.
04. The first one, that's your luck roll, it does contain a person.
She would just peek because she's still having the weird idea that Linda might be here.
The next room is actually empty. I rolled a 77. These dice are cursed. Again, 77.
Again, 77.
And the last one is a 20. What are you? 28. So yes, there is a person in there as well. It's 2 men though. So
Okay.
basically,
Yeah.
2 separate men. Yeah. And the woman wasn't Linda at all. She looked completely different.
I think looking at a clock, because we are getting close to an hour being complete, I'm quite sure by now.
Yeah.
Alice will go to the back door. She will put her shoes back on and step outside and close the door behind her and hope no one is at the other side.
You've just been very lucky. You step outside, you round the corner, and you meet up with Dottie, who isn't waiting just across from the road, because that would be too obvious. So she's standing a little bit to the side so that she can't be seen, and you find your Dottie.
Okay. Dottie would see that Alice is struggling to keep herself together. I'm quite sure she is still fighting not to, like, immediately just, like, slump forward and sleep.
Yeah, Dottie has not been idle. She's got a cab waiting.
Nothing helpful in there.
I
I need coffee a lot.
She tells the driver to take you to the Continental. And you go there. You go to the bar and you have lots
a big
of coffee.
pot of coffee.
Oh no, you actually have a room. You go to your suite and she makes coffee for you. She asks you to lie down. And she makes coffee.
Alice will not lie down. She doesn't want to fall asleep, that's the point. So she will sit probably outside, fresh air.
So the mocha goes down the drain, so she makes normal coffee because she rolled a 72 on her cooking. And then she looks at you and she gives you the coffee and she says,
That was a stupid idea. Next time slap me in the face, please, for this idea.
at least you're seeing it yourself. She looks you in the eye and she says,
It will pass. I will feel horrible. And then it's done. But they had no pictures of Mr. Lagrange in there or anything.
well, I don't think that the people who go in there want to look at art. I think it's all in the mind for them. Did you dream?
No, I didn't want to fall asleep because then you would have been there with police for sure. Because if you're out for a long time. I had a look around in a few rooms. I at least did not see Linda.
That would have been the longest opium run she could have had. It would have been several days. And how would she have gotten here anyway from Tel El Amarna?
I have no
Oh, you
idea.
mean she walked through the painting and then...
Yes.
Oh.
The question is if she could find a way to step outside again the way she stepped inside. I'm not sure that this whole connection to Tutu, there is something.
Well, I mean, while you were in there, I read the poem one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, what if there is a way to actually reach Tutu through sleeping?
I don't like that idea.
I mean, he's the goddess of dreams. She is now, she's an opium addict. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
She is, and we know that opium is the drug of sleeping.
True.
Um,
Probably a very hearty yawn from Alice at this point.
what if she somehow slipped into his realm from a dream?
Including her body.
Well, I mean, we have seen weirder things. Remember how we went to that really weird place where those crowmen were? And the place you told me about where you saw all of those hourglasses, that was not this place. And you were there, body and soul. I mean, opium isn't exactly a new drug. What if they were doing drugs back then?
Well, maybe they had an optional thing. There are, I think, a lot of herbs out there that make you sleepy. Or trippy. Mushrooms.
She smiles at you. Do I even want to know?
I can highly advise, don't try it.
Was that before or after we met?
Before.
Your
The
poor
only-
mother.
The only drugs I use nowadays is alcohol. And I kind of can't get rid of smoking completely.
I have noticed that you've been keeping your promise. You've hardly been drinking anything.
I am trying my best. I promised.
But please promise me one more thing. No more opium. I was very, very afraid.
I can tell you I was afraid as well, because that is nasty quick.
So you felt it?
Sure, he watched me taking.
Oh, he wanted to know if you were legit.
Yes.
That
I
was very
tried not
smart
to
of him.
really inhale it, but clearly I had to take it raw. I'm lucky that that was the only thing he waited for. And that one was on the house.
Well, I mean, if you had liked it, and if you were really an addict, he
I
would
would
have
have
bagged
been
you for life.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have to say, the place is spot on clean. They are taking good care of the place. I've heard stories about really awful places where you end, but this, at least they're trying to be as high class as possible. Probably the prices are high class as well.
You have no idea how much you would have had to pay normally? He didn't even say.
He didn't say. I know how much it costs. Well, a while ago, I have no idea how the prices are here. I for sure will never go into that building again because he will recognize me and not let me in because I slipped out at the back door.
And she clinks her cup to yours and says, let's drink to that.
Yes.
So what do you want to do now?
Well, it would be already afternoon, I think, by now, wouldn't it?
Yeah. 3 o'clock easily.
We,
4,
you, lady, have a date. You need to drop the drawing.
Of course, I'm going to drop off the drawing. And then will we go, and then should we have dinner? Because he's going to pick us up a date. And I'm getting hungry.
While you go out, bring him the drawing. I will organize that we get a table downstairs and can have dinner around 6.
Perfect. So she gets her coat, she takes the drawing, she goes away. So what do you do?
Alice will call. No, probably. Honestly, she will go downstairs. She will walk. She wants to keep her body busy. So she will walk downstairs. She will reserve a table at a restaurant for 6 o'clock for 2 people, and she will go to the bar and she will order a big mug of mocha.
You get the best mug of mocha you've ever had. It's brilliant. And and then after about an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half, Dottie comes back.
And she would have left a note upstairs for Dottie in case she's first going upstairs, like I'm downstairs at the bar, and in brackets, not drinking alcohol. But my new drug, mocha.
Dottie joins you, and she also orders a mocha, and she says, well, I may inform you.
Faint in surprise on the drawing?
He liked it.
I suspected so. I was just afraid that he would hyperventilate with the combination of the drawing and you.
No, but he... Really?
Well, he really liked you. To point it in a nice way.
He did, didn't he?
Yes. I hope he behaved. But honestly, you are strong enough to put him in his corner if he did something he shouldn't have.
Yes, he was like a 10-year-old choir boy, but he did give me something.
Oh.
She takes out her purse. She takes out an envelope. In that envelope is a drawing of the bust of Nefertiti. To Dorothy, the beautiful one has arrived. He is kind of cute.
He's a charmer, and I don't think he's even aware of it.
Well, anyway, I'm going to keep this. I want it framed and hang it up in New York.
Well, even if you are not looking exactly like her, which honestly is quite relaxing to see, because I had a slight panic that, as is shown in the drawing, if it would have looked exactly like you, that would have been freakish.
Maybe to his eyes, but I think he basically sees something in me that isn't even there.
Well, I get that he's seeing a very beautiful woman.
She rolls her eyes, looks at the ceiling. Moving swiftly along, Alice, moving swiftly along.
One day you will hopefully recognize.
Well, we'll have dinner. And then we're going to go back.
Yep.
So what is the next plan of action that we want to follow? We now have we know about Tutu, but there isn't really much more to know than this. He has actually done some research, and he did tell me that basically that's really all there is. But he did dig up a photograph of the other statue.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually not as well preserved. It's only half a statue, really just the front. So it was broken off, but it was also a small one. It was a figurine as well, and he did dig out a book that was basically contains descriptions of minor gods, and I've got it with me. So there is 1.5 pages dedicated to Tutu. It's older than this transcript, so that's why it's not even mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But really, he says that's all there is.
What I would be curious, you said it, or out of game, you said it's a Sphinx figure, right?
Yeah.
So we could have a look at the library about Sphinx and meanings about that, because there must be a reason why Tutu chose or is described in a Sphinx way. So I know a little bit about Sphinx, but I never really dug into that, and I can imagine about Sphinx itself there should be more for sure in the library. Back at the palace.
Yeah. Okay, so you go back. You have dinner. It's nice. You're getting picked up. You go back to the library. So and you start researching sphinxes. So sphinxes are lion-human hybrids.
Yep.
Mostly. They are not gods. So a normal sphinx like the one of Giza isn't a god. It's just, a lot like, more like a guardian, which we also then find in later Greek mythology, because one thing that I didn't realize was the ancient Greeks knew how to read hieroglyphs. So for them, this wasn't a lost language. They could read it. And of course, we have a very, very famous sphinx that meets Oedipus and asks him the questions. And if he doesn't answer, it's going to eat him. But then when he answers the question, the sphinx is so irate that she throws herself off a cliff because he was able to solve her riddle. So there, again, we've got this idea of it's guarding something. And of course, the sphinx in Giza has a temple inside her. Other than that, they are not a personification of any, let's say, divine concept. Except for Tutu, who definitely looks like a sphinx and is a god in their own right. And they are mysterious. So, and there you sometimes read that it's not quite clear if we are making them mysterious because of the Greek myths around sphinxes, and if the Egyptians really thought that they were mysterious. If they are just an ornament, then a huge one, but still. And then they are basically telling you that you have the same in Akkad and Sumer, where they have those winged bulls that are also ornaments.
Well, guardian kind of fits. He's guarding dream world. So, or she, or they probably the easiest.
So the question is, how do we then get into that dream world?
Well, I don't have problems to dream, as it seems, but it has nothing to do with that.
But do you think that when you dream, and you dream those vivid dreams, you are in that dream world that we need to go to?
No. I also don't think just dreaming will be the one thing. I'm not sure if you need to... I don't know. It's a question, how do you get there?
Well, I mean, Jane's coming back tomorrow. We could always ask her. She's lived here for a long time. She probably even knew Lagrange. We never asked her, but maybe she knows.
You want to tell her what we saw?
Well, I will leave out the part where you smoked opium.
Well, that is the less horrific thing of all the things we've...
Well, I mean, she knows that Linda is missing. We've told her that.
But she doesn't know why.
No, we don't know either, but I mean... Unless you have a better idea, we need to find... I mean, let's... Okay. And she sits down and she straightens up. She says, Alice, we don't need to do anything. I want to point this out. We can just ignore this. I know that you will find it very hard, but you also said you don't want to be involved in any of this anymore because it's driving you mad. And if this is really actually going to drive you crazy, I'd rather we walk away from this.
The problem is I don't think I can let go of this.
I know you can't, but I'm just telling you.
If there's a way that Linda is still out there.
How about we talk, I mean, how about we talk to Jane about this? Of course, you could always ask one of the two sisters that you've met.
They don't care about Linda for sure.
I'm not so sure. She just said, the mother of Sai said that Linda isn't here. She didn't say, I don't care about her. According to what you were telling me.
Oh, we can tell Jane at least the bit that we saw Linda walking through the pictures. We don't really have to point out where she ended.
No.
It's still weird that from Lagrange there's no body.
I've been thinking about this. I find it strange as well, because there is also no body of Linda.
The main question is, did they, just in theory, if they entered the dream world, did they do it on purpose because they wanted to flee real life, or were they drawn in and sucked in and are stuck there now?
I have no
because
idea.
Because Linda did not look happy and relaxed. She was stressed out.
I agree.
I think Alice would get up and she would walk past the pictures or the paintings again. And she would also have an eye on, because she hasn't done before, if she could point out not Linda so much. I don't think she would look for Linda because she doesn't think that Linda would be running around in a painting, but she would be curious if she could find or see Lagrange, because we would have seen by now some kind of picture drawing or something for him.
Make a spot hidden. Oh god, the next pair of dice is being killed.
That was a 96.
You don't see Lagrange.
No, I have headaches and probably am looking cross-eyed by now.
Yeah, it's still the opium. It's kind of giving you kind of like a headache, so... Sorry.
Now the dice are running away.
Okay, it's, yeah.
Oh no, but not far away. I can go.
Good. And then, basically, now it's kind of late already. It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you do feel a little bit of an after effect.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can, Dottie can see your eyes droop.
Would it be creepy to ask if we could share
No.
bed today, just to be sure that we both wake up in the same room?
Sure. Yeah, I would prefer that to having to walk through the house and try and find you, and then find you collapsed somewhere with your face on a book. Although the creases on your cheek were really lovely.
The worst place is to find me.
Yes, and I think I've seen quite a lot of those. So come on. She takes you by the hand.
Yeah, Alice will follow. And I think there's no way for Alice to fight sleep this night. She will probably fall asleep quite quickly.
Yeah, you do fall asleep quite quickly. Make a listen roll.
Oh god. Let's see how the new dice are doing. They are crap. Today is not my day for dice. 96 again.
Okay.
That's not a number I want to repeat over and over.
No, that's, yeah. Then you can give me a spot hidden.
You have another try, guys. No, 86. It's better, but far off them from a hit. So no, also no spot hidden.
Yeah. You sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what I roll. I rolled a 90. What a pity. That was your power check. You dream. It's the same dream. It happens in the same order. Somebody slaps you. It's Dottie's mum. The inspector tells you that you failed. Dottie's mum says, "How could you?" Teresa says, "You messed up."
She would stop Teresa because it's still the easiest one to stop. She would definitely grab Maeve again.
Mm-hmm.
And she would just blankly stop Teresa. What happened? I do not remember.
So this is how you're paying her back? By not remembering?
You know that's not something you can turn on and off. I just don't
She's
remember.
dead.
I suspect so. How?
You killed her.
How?
She needed your help. You didn't do anything. You just left her.
For what did she need help, and where did I leave her? I really do not remember. I have no idea what happened.
You sent her on an errand. She said it was dangerous. You said it needed to be done. She went. She never came home. The police found that body. It's now in the salon. Maybe say goodbye. And maybe admit to what you've done.
What errand?
I don't know. I just work here. But she was in tears when she was walking out the door.
I would never do that.
Well, you did. And it's convenient that you've forgotten all about it.
Nightmares are so much fun. She would just leave. She would just ignore that Teresa is there now because she is trying. Because it would be deja vu. That's the main question. Does she remember that she has this? Was she in the situation, or is it completely fresh to her?
You have never heard this before.
Okay.
Also, you have no recollection of you sending Dottie somewhere where Dottie doesn't want to go and Dottie walking out and crying. You've seen Dottie cry, I want to say twice. Once was about the termination of her pregnancy, but that was totally different.
Yeah, and Alice is just, in her mind, she would never force Dottie to do an errand, especially not if that would cause her go out crying, and she would also not let Dottie run or force Dottie to run an errand that is dangerous. I think this time she would still hold on to Maeve. She would leave Teresa behind because the whole situation is still absurd and feels completely wrong. But she would walk towards the coffin and have a look inside.
Okay, you see it's an open coffin, like an Irish wake. Dottie is dressed in a normal dress, like a dress, so no trousers, obviously. She has her eyes closed and they have put kind of like a scarf around her neck to keep the chin up.
Mm-hmm.
And she has her hands folded, and there's a rosary placed between her fingers. And the cross is laid out over her hands so that it's actually covering the hands that are folded like so. She looks like she's sleeping. Her hair has been washed and combed out, and it's basically lying around her head, so it looks like a little bit like a corona.
Mm-hmm.
It must be summer because it's more auburn than brown, so she has had some sun, and she's freckled.
I think Alice, just without thinking, would grab her hand.
You grab Dottie's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hold on to her hand. It's the hand of a dead body. It's cold.
And she would just whisper, I would never do that to you. This is a non-existing scenario. Also, you would never be forced. You're too strong for that. She would probably just look like upstairs. This is totally insane and never will happen. Could you please get me back now? And she would still hold on to Maeve.
Mm-hmm. You open your eyes and you feel that Dottie seems to be holding your hand, and she's sitting next to you looking down and saying, "What are you talking about?"
Alice would carefully look around.
You're in the bed that you went to sleep in.
And no cat.
No cat, no.
Did I talk in my sleep?
You did?
I'm sorry.
It didn't make any sense. You were saying you would never do that to you. You said, I would never do that to you. Also, you would never be forced. You are too strong. What was that about? Who were you talking to?
To whoever sent me into the same freaking dream again.
The dream where I'm dead.
Yes.
That's a dream. I'm alive.
Time I learned that I forced you to run a very dangerous errand, so you were leaving the house crying because you did not want to go, and you never came back from it. The police found you dead. That is stupid. I would never send you on a dangerous errand alone. And honestly, you are too strong to be forced into anything.
No, you would never do that. Of course not.
You tell me off if I'm insane for forcing you to do an errand. What the heck?
Well, obviously, if this dream was sent to you, this person knows nothing about you.
It feels so real, though. So absurdly wrong, but real.
It's not real. I'm here. And it will never happen.
At least Maeve was still willing to cuddle with me. Even in my dreams, as horrific the scenario is, the cat is a good cat.
Come on, it's 2:00 in the morning. You still need to get some sleep.
You need to get some sleep. I'm really sorry I woke you up. Alice will lay down again, but she will stare at the ceiling.
Dottie settles down next to you. She doesn't let go of your hand, and she says, "Try to get some sleep."
Mm-hmm. Alice will also let go of her hand, but I highly doubt she will find sleep.
Make a constitution check.
That is a close success. She
Okay,
barely did it.
So you can stay awake if you like.
She will. She doesn't want to go back to that place. in her, because she can't be loud, she can't talk, but in her brain, she is probably, again, going through the scenario, but in between also be like, dreams are stupid. Dream world is stupid. Who would have the weird idea to go into a world like that?
Do you then wake up Dottie at some point?
I think at the no, she would wait until, she would be awake, she would wait, but she would let Dottie sleep as long Dottie wants to sleep.
Dottie wakes up at around 8 o'clock. Are you still there?
Yes, I will lie next to her, holding her hand, but looking at the ceiling. Like the creep Alice is.
She wakes up and she says, "Tell me you went to sleep at some point."
Sure.
I hate it when you lie to me.
How should I sleep after this? You would not sleep after this. If
Fair
two
point.
nights in a row you would dream of me lying in a coffin and hearing it's your fault, would you go back to sleep happily?
No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry. That was a stupid thing to say.
I think I want to find a way to never sleep again. I don't like sleeping and I hate dreaming. So at the moment, the idea of Tutu being the god of dreams sounds like the worst thing ever to be out there.
Well, he is the one that guards your dreams. He's the one that keeps the nightmares away.
Then he's doing they are doing a shitty job.
Well, you haven't really conversed with them, because the problem with you and gods is you usually just call them names and send them off into the desert. Literally.
Because they are assholes.
She puts a finger to your lips and she says, "Alice, you have been in the presence of the divine. You may not
Yes.
like it, but you have.
I don't like them.
That sets you apart from most other people."
They are high-nosed, arrogant, stupid beings that think they are better than anyone else.
Well, I'm not sure if they're better, but they're definitely so different because they don't understand you. They don't know what it's like to know that you will die one day. They don't know fear. They don't know pain. How can they?
But they don't even try to understand.
That is true.
And honestly, their numbers are low, our numbers are higher, so who is superior? And I am just annoyed and angry, I know.
Yes, you're just annoyed and angry, but rightly so. So here's...
How do I never dream again? That would be a deal I would love to make with Tutu. Please let me never, ever, ever dream again.
I would not want not to dream again.
I
I had
would
a
be
very...
happy just to sleep.
Yes. To sleep, perchance to dream.
I don't care about dreams.
I had a lovely dream last night.
I don't care about nice dreams when I can skip the bad ones, because I had too many of these.
So you stay where you are, you stay put. We're going to have breakfast in bed and I will not have any words from you about that. You stay where you are, and while I'm out, try and at least rest your eyes.
I rested my eyes the whole night. They are relaxed now, the rest not. Well, my body is relaxed as well, because I did not move. I stayed by your side. I did not let go, because it could have been that you dreamt in the right way and you could have gone. So the only thing not rested is that.
Yeah, but you're having problems shutting that up anyway. So I don't even want to know how crazy it's in there at the moment.
It's a wild roller coaster ride.
It's a wild
if there
roller coaster
were
ride.
roller coasters already existing during the time, I suspect yes.
Yeah. Maybe not the crazy ones and not so quick, but yes.
Yeah, I'm just things I never thought about. When was the first roller coaster created?
I believe that there's actually a scene in Miss Fisher where she goes on a roller coaster ride.
True, that's very true.
I think I remember it's kind of like a seaside resort thing.
Yeah, it was carnival. Clearly a nice, compared to nowadays, quite nice and easy one. But
probably one I could have gone in without having to bath. And she walks away and she comes back with breakfast in bed, it's taking her half an hour, and she's basically she basically has to go twice because there is so much, because she needs it for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then she sits down in bed, and the two of you have breakfast in bed. And she says, "Okay, so Jane is coming back today. I want you to get some rest, and I want you to go to sleep before she comes. Please."
I can't promise that.
No, I will stay. You're not alone.
I still can't promise that.
Yeah, but let's try, okay?
The question is, what do we do during the day?
You will sleep, and I will do some reading. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. And I'm going to wake you for lunch.
I honestly am not sleeping.
Try.
The rest of my body is relaxed and my brain just has to function.
One of these days, Alice, I'm going to slap you into next Sunday. You're just the most pig-headed, stubborn person I've ever met.
Again, please try to be in my shoes. Would you feel comfortable sleeping ever again?
It's not sustainable. You do have to sleep at some point.
At some point my body will probably force me into sleeping, and I will have again the wonderful nightmare, get like 2 hours of sleep and be up again for the next days until I fall asleep again. Worst case, when we're back in Cairo, I need to see if I can get sleeping pills. Although I would highly love not to, because you can get addicted to them as well.
Okay.
I can only say if I feel tired enough, I can try to sleep, but I can't force myself. The way my brain is buzzing at the moment, sleep is so far off.
Maybe we should try hypnosis on you sometime.
No.
I hear it does great things. Dr. Kurtz was talking about it.
Sure, I will let someone else manipulate me, my brain, and my function, and let me walk around barking like a dog. Sure, no.
She smiles.
That is the main problem, you know that. Things I can't control. And being under hypnosis is something you far cannot control at all.
Yeah, but that's not how doctors use it.
Well, you never know what they do in the time you are not really knowing what is happening.
You put yourself in danger yesterday. If you had not managed to fight it off, you don't know what he would have done.
He would have grabbed all my money? No, he would not. Because he wanted me to come back. I'm honestly quite sure he would have just let me sleep. Maybe taken... Although I don't think he would have taken money. Maybe I would have gotten a nice little card and he would say, "See you tomorrow, darling."
So, let's get the day over with and let's wait for Jane. The day passes. What do you want to do? Do you want to do anything, or do you just really... Because your body is relaxed, as you said. It's just your brain that's going crazy.
Alice would look for... I think she would look for a book on hieroglyphs and would just stick her nose into that and just force herself to learn one or two things about that.
Mm-hmm. There are plenty of books about this topic. You can, you learn about... In theory, I mean, you won't be able to read them, and maybe one or two signs, but basically, after a while, like at around 1600 hours, Lady Jane arrives, and she comes in and she kisses Dottie, then she shakes your hand and she says, "So, how has it been?"
I'm not sure if you want to let her roll. I'm quite sure Alice is not looking as bright and shining as she usually does. I think after the last 2 days, she's looking tired, I'm quite sure. Because even if your body rests, if your mind is not restful, you are tired.
Well, she does notice
energy, so...
She does notice, but she is way too well behaved to actually comment on it. But you can give me a spot hidden.
That is kind of... When it's not that important, I am rolling well. That is a critical success.
You notice that Dottie is slightly shaking her head to when she thinks you're not seeing it to Jane.
Well, I had better days, but not due to the lovely place we are staying. Thank you so much for having us here.
What happened?
Too much.
Jane,
But please, arrive in peace and quiet. There's nothing running away. But maybe on good news, Dr. Frampton is doing better.
that's very good news. So she basically goes away and comes back refreshed. She's changed, and then she sits down. She takes out a cigarette case, and then she starts smoking. She says, "So now tell me all about it. What's going on?"
Dottie, do you want to maybe explain?
No.
Because I will probably not phrase it good.
Go ahead. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were. And she offers you a cigarette.
She will gladly take the cigarette. And, well, where to start? She's again looking at Dottie. I'm really not sure how crazy we can go with this.
Dottie looks at you. You can see that she has pity in her eyes. And she turns to Jane and she says, "Jane, you know how I said to you that some things that are happening are a bit strange in our lives?" Jane nods. "Yes." "Well, to cut a long story short, you know how Linda vanished?" "Yes." "We saw her again. She's in the paintings." And then she proceeds to explain to her. And there you notice this quality that Dottie described to her. She's an excellent listener.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically Dottie explains it, and Lady Jane keeps smoking one cigarette after the other because she takes her time. She explains about the trip to Cairo and Tutu and blah. And then she says, "Of course, I have never seen this, but it's not something that I find terribly crazy. You see, the ancient ones have always thought that things like mirrors, like lakes, like any shining surface can take you to somewhere else. We know that here in Egypt, when you look at the paintings, they were drawn in order for the person to be able to have what they have in this life, in the next. It was believed that as soon as you committed something to paper, words became reality. When you write a poem today, you do it because you want to be art. But back then they believed that when you created the words, when you said them, they became reality. When you drew something, that was real. It wasn't a representation of reality. It was reality. So you live in the land where this is normal. Not today, but it was. And who knows if they didn't know something we've just forgotten. If you say that you saw Linda in those paintings, I believe you. I can't tell you how she got there. But I'm not saying she's not.
I think through all this, Alice would have smoked for sure. Also, one or two. She has her own cigarettes anyhow, as well. But I think after the one, she would go to her own because she doesn't want to use up the ones Lady Jane has. She would have looked between Lady Jane and probably in between look at one of whichever paintings are visible halfway inside. And just in between stare at one of the paintings just to concentrate and see if something is moving. And then focusing back on Lady Jane to see how she is reacting. I rolled a 96 again.
Okay.
I
Well,
will burn all my dice.
the thing is, Lady Jane has not really paid much attention to you. When she's listening to somebody, she's looking at that person completely. So she was always looking at Dottie. If you'd spoken up, she would have shifted her gaze towards you.
She didn't.
Okay.
Alice wouldn't have said a single thing.
So what's the plan now? What do you want to do?
There is no plan, because there is no thing we can do.
There is something. It's a concept. It's called the Dreamlands. The idea is that some of the priests could live in both worlds, the world of the dreams and the world of reality. Sometimes they didn't really know which was which. We are unsure as to what this actually means. It could be, most of us believe it's a metaphor. Some say, well, who knows? But we know, for example, that there are cultures where drugs are used to induce hallucinations, and some of them are so real that the difference cannot be made out. But who knows, maybe it's a portal. And I mean, I'm not quite sure how Linda would cross over, though, because I don't think she would do drugs. But maybe it's that.
Curious question would be, did you know Mr. Lagrange?
Oh yes, of
Just
course
to
I
be
did.
Curious.
It was a catastrophe when he died. He was a very, very gifted Egyptologist. It was a tragedy. He burned to death.
Well, they never found a body.
Yeah, but the whole warehouse was cinders.
Yes.
What are you saying?
He worked on a translation of Tutu. Linda worked on a drawing of a statue of Tutu. Both vanished.
So you're saying that work on Tutu and you vanish?
I don't know, but my gut feeling says there's a connection. And I highly doubt that he burned. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but I highly doubt he burned. Because usually fires like that, I'm not sure how likely it really is that nothing is left behind. It's just a weird coincidence, and we learned that weird coincidences are usually something. But it does not help because we have no idea how they do that, or how it happened, if it happened by accident or by they wanted to try. And I will not try, so I have no idea what to do. It would be interesting to know if there would be a way to get them out in our world again. I honestly don't care much about the dream world at all. And she will not look at Dottie when she says that. But it would be interesting to know if there is a way to give people that are stuck there a way back. Because Linda looked stressed. I don't think she was happy being there.
I mean, there is the concept of the psychopomp. It's a Greek word. It means leader of souls. So the idea is that there are beings that can lead the soul to other places. They are quite often animals or animal spirits.
Well,
in Egypt it was quite often cats.
obvious choice. Alice would just shrug her shoulders and would take another inhale of the cigarette. With all the theory, we will have still no option to really do something.
I'm not so sure. Would you like to try? Because there are, if you like, prayers, stories that we know of how to use a psychopomp to cross over. They're on all of the tombs. It's everywhere.
Alice would look at Dottie.
Dottie looks at you and she says, "You're not going alone."
I'm not going at all.
Well,
I'm
I will.
not setting a step into a dream world.
Well, if there's a chance that she's there, I'm going. I saw her face in the painting.
I know. I don't want a second mirror happening. Once was enough.
Well, then very simply, I go on my own, and when I'm done, I come back.
Sure. Let's at least have a look on what the ritual is before we decide what we do. Do you have anything on that here, Lady Jane, or can
Hundreds
you even
of
tell
pages.
by memory?
Hundreds of pages. Just wait a second. And she leaves. And Dottie looks at you and she says, "You and dreams. Huh.
It's the most horrific place to be. And it sounds even more horrific to be stuck there.
Maybe that's the quest, that's the answer to the maybe if we go there we will be able to stop them. To stop your dreams."
My dreams have nothing to do with what is happening here.
How do you know? If it's the land of the dreams, that's maybe where they come from.
But they have nothing to do with Egypt or what is happening or anything like that. Let's see what needs to be done, and then we can decide what is to do.
About half an hour later, Lady Jane comes back with 3 big books. And she says, "So these are writings from various temples. Hathor and Anubis." And she opens them, and it's not just writings, but it's actually all of the frescoes have been photographed and put in. So it's again, like, very expensive books. And she says, "Now this one here explains that in order to cross over to the land of the dreams, you have to drink something. It's essentially, well, milk of the poppy. It's different from smoking it."
Very raised eyebrow from Alice to Dottie.
Then you go to sleep. And then you cross over when somebody's reading this hymn while you're sleeping.
Sounds all in all like a very horrible idea. Drug yourself in a way that you have no way of doing anything.
Well, it depends on how this dream world is, because your body would still be here. I doubt that it's the body that crosses over.
Then there's the question, where is the body of Linda?
I don't know. I don't know if she did that ritual, because she would have had somebody to help her with it. I don't know if this is the same thing. Dottie looks at Jane and she says, so can you read this hymn? Can you perform the ritual? And Jane says, I believe I can. I've never tried, but it's very straightforward. You drink the milk of the poppy, you go to sleep, and somebody recites these words.
Alice would just stare at Dottie. I don't like this.
Jane closes the book. She puts her finger between those pages and she says, I will step outside and I will leave the two of you alone. And she walks away.
You really want to do that?
I saw her face. She needs help. If there's even a slim chance that we can help her, I don't want to miss it. I don't know if she's still alive. We don't know how fast time travels or what's happened to her. I mean, just imagine if this was me. You didn't think for a second, twice, to jump through that mirror.
But that's you.
Which is why we would go together.
I can't.
Because?
I'm not going into any kind of dream world. I liked Linda, but no.
Because you're afraid that your dream would come true?
Well, it seems to come through either way.
It's not coming true. I'm alive.
Yeah, and if you do that on your own, you will not come back.
How?
And if we go in there, I will see you dead as well. So it's a nice way to be stuck in.
I'm not dying.
At the moment it looks that whichever way it goes, this will happen. Maybe that's why I had the dream. As warning.
You didn't send me on an errand. I didn't run around. I didn't run out crying, and we're not in New York. The situation is completely different.
Well, the main result is everyone telling it's my fault, and it is. The quintessence of all of this is exactly this.
All right.
The thing is, I know you want to help her, and you need to decide what you want to do. I'm not your master. I'm not the one that can or should force you in any kind of direction. The only thing I can tell you, I cannot go with you. If you want to risk your life doing that, so be it.
I'm not leaving you.
Well, best case if Lady Jane is right, you would not leave me, really. I honestly have no good answer. And whatever we do, it's not right.
If you're not going, I'm not going. And this is the end of it. We will not have a discussion around this. I would go if you went, but I'm not leaving you. Because yes, I am afraid. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what the dreamlands are like.
Let's take a day to think about it before we make a decision. This is not a decision to jump quickly to.
Yeah, we don't have to do it now. And it's already late. It's past midnight now. Just don't move. And she leaves through the same door that Lady Jane left through, and
Alice will move and get up and start to basically, because we're still at the place where we were sitting together with Lady Jane and talking.
Yeah.
So she would start to, like, I don't know, clean a little bit up, collect the cigarettes, and just to prepare. But she will stay in the room.
But about half an hour later, Dottie comes back and she says, "It's late. We should go to bed. You have not slept at all."
Let's go to bed.
And she takes you by the hand and she leads you to the bedroom and she says, "So I'm going to stay with you until you fall asleep. And I'm not going to take no for an answer."
Well, then be ready for not sleeping, darling.
That's fine. Try me.
Well, I don't want to try you, but tomorrow we both will not be in a situation to make any kind of decisions.
So basically, the two of you go to bed. And
I'm still thinking about if Alice would be someone who has sleeping pills in her bag, just in case. I'm still tempted that it would be kind of her.
I mean, I could imagine
After
normally...
all she's been through already, I could imagine her having...
But the point is also that you were very, very averse to taking morphine when you had the broken rib, so you were very careful. You put yourself through a lot trying not to get addicted, and you basically...
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, you might... I mean, what you could have is definitely valerian.
Yeah, the more natural option. But Alice will plonk herself into bed, but she will stare at the ceiling.
Okay, now it's time for the constitution check with disadvantage.
Because she is scared as shit to fall asleep. No. Even the first roll was a fail already. The second was a good one. The first one was a fail.
Your eyelids droop, and you fight against it, but your eyes get very heavy, and you fall asleep. And you sleep. And you wake up again. And it's morning. And you're lying in bed. It's the bed that you went to sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
Dottie's lying next to you. She's fast asleep.
Alice
But she's
will...
breathing. She's fine.
Yeah,
she's breathing.
Alice will not move, not to wake her up. But she will just probably go on mulling over what she did before she fell asleep. Pros and cons about what to do.
So what is going through her head?
It's basically, is there any good reason to risk us being stuck in there as well.
I mean, that is really your decision.
And in her mind, the dreamland is a nightmare mind. And the way we saw Linda being out there, this is kind of a confirmation for Alice. It's not a good place. So, Alice doesn't know. She blankly does not know.
Do you wake up Dottie?
No, she will wait until Dottie wakes up. She will just...
At length, 8:15 or so, Dottie does wake up. Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you got a bit of sleep.
Oh, yes, I did. Did you sleep?
Weirdly so, yes.
Did you dream?
I don't think so.
How's that brain of yours? And she knocks slightly against your head.
Tired, desperate, and clueless what to do.
It's your decision.
No, it's our decision. That's the point. It can't be just my decision because I can't decide over you. You are not my property.
Well, I want to go, but I'm not going alone. If you don't go, then we're not going. It's very simple. And I understand if you don't want to go. I can't imagine what it must be like to have dreams like yours. I can only tell you it's not real.
Oh, the stupid thing is about our brains, it feels very real. And I'm quite sure whatever this dream world is, it's not a good place.
I don't know. Perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't.
No, I'm quite sure it is, after all we've seen.
You once said that you either will die or will go crazy from this, and I said I was going to prevent both. So if you feel that this is going to be too much, then we're not doing it. It's very simple.
The problem is it is not simple. Whatever way we go, it will be a horrific decision.
Linda is not my priority here.
Yeah, but if I decide we do not do this, I will have to live for the rest of my life that she might be stuck in there, and it's my fault because I knew and did nothing.
Even so, we don't even know if this would help. We don't. I mean, it's Jane says it's a possibility. It may not be real. She doesn't know.
But as you pointed out, for you, I wouldn't even blink. I would immediately try.
And I for you. If this was you, then I would have gone up the Nile myself and dragged Jane here to help. I would not have waited at all. And you know this.
There are not many people I would do that for. Well, probably, honestly, now, just you. Maybe my dad. Quite probably my dad. Not so sure my mom.
She looks at you and she says, yes, your mother.
Well, at least I would know who's haunting my dream then, because she would have me pay for that.
And with that, she actually starts laughing.
At least now I know why I'm so mad at Matthew.
What? She's confused.
I would have done this for him without thinking as well. Now I would not anymore.
At least not now. That doesn't mean that this won't change.
That bridge is gone. It's burnt from both sides. We can clearly be proper people around if we meet again, but the trust is gone.
Is it though?
Yeah, and I think on both sides. But at least I understand. It still doesn't help to make me a decision.
Whenever you talk about Matthew, there is utter sadness on her face, and this is the same now. She looks very sad.
I have no idea what to decide. As I said, every decision sounds horrific. There's no good way out of this.
If we go, then we're acting. If we don't go, we're not. And I believe that if you take action, you are at least to some degree in control. And I honestly...
Other world we entered so far was a horrible place. And we will drag Lady Jane with us, because if we disappear, she will live with that as well. I need coffee.
Yes, you shall.
Alice
have
will
coffee.
get out of bed.
You go downstairs. You have... well, there is no downstairs, actually. You go to the dining room where there is breakfast. Lady Jane is already awake. She is smoking already. She's kind of like hidden behind a wall of smoke. She's reading the newspapers. Mm-hmm. And she says, do sit down. Breakfast.
Thank you.
Can we have more coffee, please?
Strong.
And
Extra strong.
And you get coffee, and she thanks her, the girl that's serving the coffee, and she says, and I think that's all we need. You can leave us alone. We can manage. And the girl retires. And other than that, she's paying no attention to you guys. She's reading the paper.
Anything interesting happening in the world outside?
Not really. I mean, or maybe yes, but there's just so much. You can see that she's got 3 different newspapers. One of them is in French. It's Le Monde. Mm-hmm. And the other one are in English. It's the Times, the London Times, and an Egyptian local newspaper also in English, obviously. Nothing really special. There's a symposium coming up. I'm going to be one of the panelists. All of the young, aspiring PhD students are going to present. We'll see who makes the cut.
We are voting for Dawson.
Oh, James Dawson, yes.
Do you mind? She would point towards the New York Times.
Oh, no, not at all. And she hands it over to you.
Yeah, so it's clearly not the today version, because no way to have it in Egypt. So it will be a few days old, I suspect.
It is actually, yeah.
But Alice would have a look, because that would be exactly the newspaper she would usually read at home. So she would do her usual scan, like the front papers to show social papers or pages, then whoever died, married, or got engaged, or had a kid, whatever, just to go through that.
Yeah, so basically it's the normal stuff. There are some balls that are now being advertised because Christmas is coming up, Christmas engagements, and of course there are all of the charity balls that are happening. Your mother's name is mentioned. Mm-hmm. She's on some board of some ball or another, organizing stuff. I mean, she is the big charity lady as well, so she does get mentioned. And so you read through this, and Alex Coxton from the Met is going to curate an exhibition in the new year. So this time it's her job, it's her show. So that's coming up. It's sculpture, because that's one of the things that she focuses on.
Yeah.
And other than that, all seems to be well in the world of NYC.
Alice will very carefully fold the newspaper together again, and we'll just put it on the table back and sip more coffee.
In the meantime, Dottie has put butter on toast and has put the buttered toast in front of you, and she's giving you a stern look.
She will probably more nibble on the toast as usual than really full-heartedly eating it, because breakfast is still not...
Yeah, but
she likes to make breakfast, but she's still not the eating breakfast person.
But you're drinking lots of coffee, and she knows that this isn't good for you, so she basically, at least, she gives you enough time to nibble half a piece of toast, and when you finish that, she kind of relaxes a little.
I think Alice will be nice enough to finish the full piece of toast at least, and maybe even have a little bit of the, I suspect, maybe scrambled eggs or whatever's on the table as well.
And then Lady Jane says, "So I'm now going to go for a turn in the garden. What are your plans for today? And of course, you can stay as long as you like." But when you don't answer, she just walks out.
Alice honestly has no idea what to do. She's still in the state of utter being lost on what to do, because everything is just not a good option for her.
Dottie isn't helping.
No, she's definitely not helping.
She just says, "I can't take that decision for you, just like you're not my master, I'm not yours."
I don't know how to make a decision.
What does your heart tell you? And don't tell me you can't ask it.
My heart is yelling two things: help her and run. That's exactly the problem. Because there's no logic behind all of this. We are far away from any kind of logic, because you can't logically explain what is happening.
Alice.
I need more time.
You have all the time in the world.
Until Lady Jane kicks us out?
Hardly.
Alice will probably grab another cup of coffee, but would take it. She would get up. And she would just walk into her room and close the door behind her.
Well, I mean, Dottie's not following. She's still finishing her own breakfast.
Yeah.
So what do you do in your room?
I think weirdly enough, Alice would now sit down and finish the letter to Matthew that she could not finish before.
Okay. So you've steeled yourself.
I think this thing gave her the last kick into the idea on what is happening. And the other drive is, it might be that we will never come out of this again. And she wants to have the letter ready, that it gets to him before anything happens to her or Dottie.
Okay. So at some point, maybe we will learn what you say in this letter, because now I am curious.
I need to write it down, so you will get it tomorrow. But
Okay.
and we can share it at least with the patrons if you like. But we will read. No, I don't think we will read it because
no, we're gonna leave it to the
Matthew.
patrons. Yeah, it'll go to Matthew.
And I'm honestly, I'm fighting what Alice would do, just as Alice is fighting.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think that there is a simple answer, because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And at this stage, I'm basically saying that you can really choose whatever you like.
As I said, as Alice, but as a player as well, there is no good way to go.
It's a dilemma.
Yeah, it's absolute dilemma, because leaving this, Linda will haunt her for the rest of her life.
Maybe.
With the idea we could maybe have saved her and we did not try. But Alice is scared shitless to go there.
Okay.
So it's the main question, what is stronger? Being scared of going in there, or being scared basically of what will happen afterwards if she doesn't? That is pure insanity.
And to be quite honest, I didn't actually expect this to happen at all. I thought it was going to be really straightforward, but that's...
Our dear Alice is so PTSD about people invading her dream and having weird dreams and weird things happening in her dreams. I think that is such a fear factor for her by now.
I mean, out of game, you can go to the Dreamlands or you cannot go to the Dreamlands. That is
out of
both
game, it's
possible.
The thing is, not going there, clearly Alice and Dottie will be safe and sound for now. Although I highly doubt that Alice will keep her sanity for very long. It will bit by bit lose. Going in there is a package that will be whatever happens. Depending also on what we roll and how we act. And we know Alice is not acting well in situations like that, so...
But it is Call of Cthulhu. It's meant to be difficult.
I know.
It's meant... It is this choice that you can make. I mean, just out of game, the thing is, whatever you decide can be played. So it's...
I know. That was clear to me that that I have both options. And the thing is, at the moment, she would definitely sit down and write in peace and quiet a letter. Mm-hmm. I think then she would leave her room. Mm-hmm. And would go into the kitchen and ask if there is some kind of, I don't know, whiskey, scotch, rum, whatever strong alcohol.
Of course, madam. And she basically takes you outside to one of the living rooms, because I mean there are so many living areas, and she points you to the bar. If you would like to help yourself.
Yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. And she would take a full bottle and go back to her room.
Okay. And are you going to drink it?
Yes, I'm not sure she will drink it completely, but she will drink a lot. And she did not really have breakfast, well, a little bit, but she doesn't really have something
constitution safe
around. So I think really, since that has always been her way out, it's not a good way. To all the viewers, please do not think that is a good way to go. That is...
Did you fail?
I hate this when I roll this because I never know what it is. I failed because I rolled a 100.
Oh my god.
I'm just staring at a 10 and a 0, and my brain is like, is this? No, this can't be what I think it is. Yes, it is what it is. I rolled a 100.
Okay.
Absolute fail.
You failed. So what's going to happen is you're gonna vomit.
Yeah.
So let's see if they get to you in time. On a 12, yes.
Okay.
The next thing you know is somebody slapping you.
No. I don't even have to look who. I know who it is, probably.
It's Dottie.
Mm-hmm.
And do you open your eyes?
No.
She's only a slip of a girl, but
she will move and motion, so Dottie clearly can feel that Alice is there, but she doesn't want to.
She's only a slip of a girl, but when she wants to be, she can be really strong. She lifts you, and she drags you because you were lying on the floor. You passed out. You were lucky you didn't inhale. That was dangerous, actually, just now. That was really dangerous.
Yeah,
you
with a 100, it's like...
Yeah.
Maybe this adventure ends here in a very pitiful way.
She drags you physically onto one of the sofas that is in your bedroom, and she... well, first of all, she cleans you up. She begins to undress you, and then she slaps you one more time, and she says... What were you thinking? Because I know you can hear me.
I think Alice will just whisper. The goal is not to think anymore. But she will leave her eyes closed. But she will like sink bed a little bit back into her bed, into the pillow. And I also, just for myself, I rolled a sanity check, and it was a 96.
Okay, then you can roll a d10 now.
Because Alice is not doing well. Mm-mm. And I rolled a 10 to have it, and really on top of that.
So you lose 10 sanity. Your temporary insanity is now again being addicted to alcohol. So now being now not drinking is going to be difficult, because I did do a check earlier. If you were addicted to opium, you passed with a 0.5, which was way below your POW, so you were fine there. But that was actually now, because I think you're almost like possibly a dry alcoholic to a certain degree.
Yeah, she is, with the idea she can drink in between because she has it under control, which she obviously does not.
Doesn't.
She has it kind of under control if everything is fine, but as soon as something goes in the wrong direction.
Yeah, so you are now on this sofa, and Dottie is holding you, and she's not letting go. And we shall leave it here.
Yeah, I think Alice will probably drift into sleep with everything that's happening, because the alcohol is still, the brain is still foggy for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, viewers, that this is so heavy. Welcome to Cthulhu.
Welcome to Cthulhu, yes.
Oh, poor girls. I'm always so sorry what I do to Dottie.
Well, I mean, I have to say Dottie is a Catholic, so they're used to actually trying to survive lots of trials. But I mean, then again, I think if you were somebody else, Dottie would probably have said goodbye a long time ago, because she's also not somebody who's self-sacrificial beyond a certain degree.
Yeah.
Because this would be quite unhealthy.
The thing is, what I always get from Dottie, but correct me, is she definitely more or less has always the situation that she's trying to save Alice.
Yeah.
In the weird way that Alice always has the feeling that she has to save Dottie, which is a very fun connection between both of them.
I mean, the point is that both need saving. So she falls into mirrors, you fall into alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's a bond there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and
Well, they have gone literally through hell together.
through hell. Yeah. And so Dottie's not going to let go. So it's not going to happen. Just like Alice would never let go. So, yeah.
Great point roll of 100. Thank you, dice.
Yeah, so maybe next time take
You
different
will
dice.
never play Cthulhu with me again. The good thing is I have quite a few more to choose from. I
Yeah.
did not use my usual Alice die. Maybe it's that. I'm not sure. I was just lazy. I didn't want to grab for those. So, yeah.
So we will now take a break until August. So this is going to be kind of like the super duper a cliffhanger. What's going to happen?
Because there's vacation coming up.
We should have ended it on the 100. Dun, dun, dun. No, we didn't. That would have been
No,
cruel.
I think, especially for me, I'm not sure I would have.
No. But I mean, if I was your liver, I would probably be hating you right now.
I think the liver already is like, oh, here we go again.
Here we go again. Trial.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, basically what we do want to say is we don't believe in drugs to make our lives better. It's very important to notice this is fiction.
This is fiction, and
Yeah.
I know, especially in Cthulhu, this is something that alcohol is usually, or drugs is something that is easily to be slipped in, and I'm quite sure during that time the topic of being an alcoholic was by far not as openly discussed as an illness as it is nowadays. So
yeah. And drugs were easy to come by because I mean laudanum was still something that you could get over the counter.
yeah, and as I said, my decision was that Alice is not going into hard drugs.
Yeah.
Really, because that is horrific to play, and to get out of that is like alcohol is always like you can kind of ride the edge at least for a while. Well, we see not for long, but she tried. And yeah, let's see. Her sanity is getting
What is it now?
29.
Oh wow. That is really low.
Or still 29 points before going completely insane beyond help.
Yeah. Okay, then we would like to thank our listeners and our viewers for your continued support, and we wish you a pleasant summer break, and we'll be back in August.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bye.